For this list, we'll be looking at the best M-rated video games of all time. Number 10, The Walking Dead. Video games based on existing media don't always live up their title, but the first season of this telltale adventure proved worthy of sharing the Walking Dead name. Number 9, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. If you want something that wastes no time throwing you into the action, this is for you. We aren't kidding. Number 8, The Binding of Isaac, Rebirth. Dark Basement? Check. Biblical sacrifices? Check. Grotesque monster designs? Also check. Number 7, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Don't let the fuzzy mascot fool you. This is no kids game. It's got plenty of violence, vulgarity, and lewd jokes to more than earn its M rating. Number 6, Resident Evil series. Across dozens of reboots, remakes, and adaptations, the one thing consistent about this zombie franchise is how entertaining it is. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Put your hands up, soldier!
We can all agree that the first Red Dead Redemption is a nearly flawless game, right? We only say near because its sequel gave us the same thing, but more of it. And it's impossible to complain about. Number 4, God of War 3. Hell hath no fury like a Spartan scorned. Or at least, that's what this game argues. Number 3, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. 3 entries deep, and developer CD Projekt Red somehow managed to top themselves yet again. The Witcher 3 isn't just the culmination of the franchise. It feels like an exclamation point on the entire open-world genre. Number 2, The Last of Us. When Joel agreed to escort Ellie across the post-apocalyptic United States, he probably didn't expect to draw this much attention. There was simply no hiding the fact that this was one of the greatest games ever made. Number 1, Grand Theft Auto series.
Hey man, what you want?
Not many brands, period, can stay relevant for over 25 years. And in the intense controversy this series always finds itself in, and that's even more difficult. But despite its speed bumps, it's hard to think of a gaming franchise more influential than this. It's the epitome of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all revved into one undeniably awesome package. Most
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 7th. Oh my God, 7 season of the Timeless Gamer Podcast, where the games and gamers grow older, but the gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. Your gaming podcast show brought to you by the beautiful people of Pinoy Retro Gaming, and we are now live now in Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. And for all of our archive videos of our previous episodes, you can still check our YouTube channel, which is Timeless Gamer PRG, or just going to the Facebook page of Pinoy Retro Gaming and Twitch. You can also listen to us talk. That's fine. If you don't want to see our beautiful mugs, that's fine. That's fine. You can catch us in Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcast. What else? Podcast Index, Listen Notes, Pandora, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. We are everywhere. God damn it, we are everywhere. So there is no excuse. And speaking of previously in Timeless Gamer, for our season 6th finale, um, we discussed a little bit, could have gone a little bit more, all about Metal Gear, Metal Gear. Um, the main series, some of the spin-offs, and some of the garbage that Hideo Kojima refuses to acknowledge. And for all of you guys who failed to catch that particular episode, you can still go to Pinoy Retro Gaming Facebook page or to the uh, Timeless Gamer YouTube channel. And so, for this particular episode, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the mature rated games. Mind you, not to be confused with the adults only rated games. So there's a little bit of a difference between mature and adult. All right. We will talk about that in detail as we go along. But let's proceed first with introductions. Miss Honoka, Charlene, what's up? What's up?
Hey, guys, what's going? I am back here for more here, Honoko99 here. We are going to hear live on Facebook and anywhere around the world there. So I hope you guys actually enjoyed this M-rated games here, sponsored by Tita Joel as well as hashtag Banyagang Native here. Oh yeah. So hope everyone will enjoy the stream. Thank you everyone.
All right.
Guys actually enjoyed this M-rated.
Nope.
How about Saviraj? What's up?
Glad to be here. Should be a lot of fun talking about all these mature rated games, and we can discuss in detail as to where it began, where we're at now, and is a game that's necessarily rated M actually any good? So that should be fun.
And for all of you guys who are still not on the know, Sir Viraj is also one of the host panel of this YouTube channel called the Sega Mega Masters, along with Sir Dan and Sir Rick. And the last episode that they did an overall discussion about ghouls and ghosts. So for all of you Sega fans out there, check out their YouTube channel, Sega Mega Masters. Next, Sir JDM, what's up?
Hey, good day, everyone. This is Juan DeMarcos, or JDM for short, of 123 Go, here to discuss about the mature rated games that we have played in the last few decades. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
All right, thank you, Sir JDM, and the one leading the charge for tonight, the connoisseur of the mature. Watch out for the couture.
I can't even point.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. This is Joel Maclito, the Manyagang Native channel, both on Twitch and on Kick. Coming in fast and hard with the M-rated games, mature games. I am going to right off the bat, I am going to label this our first episode of the season as one of the most controversial episodes that we're ever going to do in Timeless Gamer, because of the fact that we've always prided ourselves as being a family show. And I am right now warning everybody, both the viewers and the listeners of our podcast, to put the kids to sleep already, or to ask them to step out of the room, because we are going to be discussing games that have earned the old dreaded rating of M for mature games. Nowadays, there's two categories that you are worried about earning for your games. It's M, which is an M for mature, and AO, which is adults only. We are going to be talking for the sake of the how broad our topic is going to be. I chose M-rated games for our topic for today, because if we go for the AO, we might get banned from all platforms. So we are going to be doing M-rated games for today. And for those of you who are listeners of our audio podcasts, pause the podcast right now, tell the kids go to sleep or step out of the car. Not the car. Okay, step out of your exercise room while you're listening to our podcast, because we are going to be talking turkey to the mature audiences that we have here in Timeless Gamer. So, um,
Oh,
for sorry,
hang
Joe,
on.
go ahead.
Oh, look who's that Pokemon over there? Speaking of the Mega Masters host, we got Sir Dan joining us. Yay!
Excellent. Yes,
Yay!
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, Dan,
Sir
do a little bit of
Dan.
an introduction of yourself for the people who are just coming into our podcast right now.
Hello, everybody. My name's Dan. You've probably seen me before if you've watched it before. I host the Sega Mega Masters show with our good friend here, Seviraj, and I have got a potty mouth, so it will be very appropriate for this M-rated episode.
Oh yeah, and like the forewarning we've given our audience, all the kids should be stepping out of the room or going to sleep once they start listening or watching to this podcast. Excellent. So,
All
uh,
kids get out of the pool. It's time for Adult Swim. All kids get out of the pool.
oh
It's time
yeah,
for
oh my
Adult
gosh,
Swim.
Adult Swim. Oh my goodness, so that's quite a throwback. Um, let's see. So, what is an M-rated game? An M-rated game is a game that has earned the M rating from what we call the ESRB. And of course, for those of you who do not know, the ESRB is the Entertainment Software Rating Board. It is the official organization here in the United States, based in New York City, that gives ratings to both the video games that we play and to the commercials about those video games that play on television and on the radio. So they're actually a pretty far encompassing organization, despite the fact that they are kind of small. From the documentary that I have watched about them. If you guys are interested in learning more about the ESRB, you can check out their website. They have this documentary there running for 44 minutes. It's a short documentary that describes who the ESRB are and what they do. And this is going to be of particular interest to Joe. There's also a series of essay about the history of the Entertainment Software Rating Board on their website, written by no other than Blake J. Harris, the same guy who actually wrote Console Wars, the book. So if you guys want to check out the essays about the history of the ESRB, starting from their formation during the days of Mortal Kombat and Night Trap, then that would be the series of essays to check out. If you guys are interested, please check out the website esrb.org. So that is our description of who the ESRB is. But then again, let's get into M rating. What is the M rating for mature rated games? Mature rated games, as given by the ESRB, is 17 plus. These are games that are rated, that should be played by people who are 17 years and above, and the content in it is generally suitable for ages 17 and up, may contain intense violence, blood and gore, sexual content, and or strong language. Again, for the people who might be interested, these are the things that once you have the kids see a little bit of it, you tend to either cover their eyes or ears when these things happen, while you're watching or playing a particular thing. So those are the things that we have to be careful of when it comes to the less mature members of our family, and that's perfectly fine, because as elders we have to be careful of the sensibilities of our children growing up. Let's see. Ca- Uh, if any, oh, I completely forgot to mention, for the panelists and for the audience, let's make sure that this is going to be a generally open discussion. You guys can pipe in whenever you feel like. You can raise your hand. You can talk whenever you feel like. And for the audience, if you guys have any questions, we are going to be entertaining questions in the chat. So um, feel free to talk. We are very, very happy to have everybody here. Very quickly, if I can have Mr. Juan de Marcos say hi to the people in the chats.
Hey everyone, let's go into the chats.
Mhm,
We have Daniel P. Dignadisa of Dandice Gaming. Hello,
mhm.
hello. And he said
Oh,
that Happy National Video Game Day, PRG.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That just passed
yeah.
by. There
Thank you,
you
thank you
go.
so much.
National Video
Happy
Game
National
Day.
Video Game Day, guys.
So
Hmm.
that's July July. I didn't know there was an actual celebration for
I don't know. We're
National
celebrating
Video Game.
that.
I'm not
Yeah,
celebrating every
actually,
day.
it's the actual
I don't
celebration for
even
the
know that's a
video
thing.
games.
Yeah.
Every
It's
day is a national
yeah, every
something
day.
day nowadays. Yeah.
True,
True.
true. So we also have Barona Royka who's in Twitch right now. Hello, good evening. And we also have Romel Buencillo of Core Gundam Plays. He said, good evening,
Mhm,
Timeless Gamer and PRG. Happy
mhm.
discussion as well. Thank you so much. And Jansen Dane Robles Imperial of Page Name Record. Hello. Jericho Ilagan also says, good evening. And then Sir Siebert Silagan of
Mhm.
Siebert
East Retro Games. There
East
you go.
Retro Games.
Yes.
And we also have one of our regulars here in Timeless Gamer, Kuya Raymond John Orendes of Retro Freak Gaming.
Mm.
Okay,
And there's
man.
also, oh, I have a comment here as well.
Mm.
And we also got, let's see, latecomer, Clark21 just for fun, also from Pinoy Retro Gaming, one of my inaanak here on Pinoy Retro Gaming.
Mhm.
Good evening.
Translation: inaanak being Godson. In Pinoy Retro
Godson, right?
Gaming, we have a little bit of a system here where you're the godfather to the newbies who come in. So you kind of help people out once they get into the organization. It's kind of like a good system, not just for Pinoy Retro Gaming, but for retro gamers in particular. We're always welcoming to the new people who are coming into our hobby. We want to make sure that everybody gets nice and comfortable so that we can have nice and fruitful discussions about retro games.
All right.
All right, excellent. So, getting moving on. We've had a description of what an M-rated game is. The question is, should the M-rated games are restricted to a certain audience? But the question is, just because a game is rated M, does it mean it's objectively good or bad right off the bat? I would argue that the rating itself kind of lends itself to a little bit better storytelling in terms of what can be done with the game. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good right off the bat. Also, some M-rated games are just objectively bad. One of the earliest examples that we have is a game called Custer's Revenge for the Atari 2600. Dan knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, that little laugh of his is very is very revealing. But yeah, it's like one of those. It's one of the things that um, the M-rated games can be objectively good or bad because of the fact that they can represent reality as how it actually is. You're not sugarcoating a game because of the fact that you're trying to hide it for the kids. You can tell it. You can tell that a game is really going to be really good or bad based on what it actually shows you. It can be coarse, rough, disgusting because of all the blood, gore, sexual innuendos, and things like that, and the experience might be a little bit too much for some people to handle. So that is going to be a little bit of an overview of what you can expect here in our show today with M-rated games. Guys, here in the panel, do you guys have any comments so far about what we talked about regarding M-rated games? Feel free to pipe in.
I'd like to just add something to the ERSB
Mm.
rating systems that use in America. I just brought some games with me just to show you the system that we use here in Europe.
Sure.
And we want to see the European equivalent, because we want to be inclusive, right? So it's actually a cross between two levels. Now, here we use something called a PEGI system.
Mm.
So the PEGI system, otherwise known as Pan-European Game Information, replaced, and that was only something that was set up in 2003. And that replaced the system we had when ERSB was, because ERSB came in place in 1994, right?
Mm.
And we had something called the ELSPA, European Leisure Software Publishers Association. That was the rating system we used before, and you can see that on some older PS1 games and PS2 games. But they've been replaced with the PEGI system. So I'll show you here very quickly. So there you go. You got the images here, and here I've got a couple of games on my Wii U. Yes, there are immature rated games on Nintendo systems, Dan. You'd be surprised, but yeah.
I don't believe it.
Mm.
Now we have 18 and 16 rated games, and it's again ERSB is typically 17 plus. Okay, we know it's mature 17 plus, so we have an 18 rated system here, And obviously with Zombie U, there's a lot more gore and bad language in this particular game. Very foul language, and it's very gory. It's obviously a survival horror game on the level of Resident Evil. So that's like the top end of what we could say is mature level. Okay, but we also have like the entry level mature. So here we have Batman Arkham City Armored Edition. That's rated 60. And as we know, we've got violence in this game. The language, there are a few questionable terms in here. The word wanker is used in this year, which is a derogatory term, where the Penguin calls Batman a wanker and tends to come after him. So there are some, let's say, transgressive language used in here, but there is proper violence in this game. But it's not like proper blood and guts and everything like you see with Zombie U. So there is a difference between 16 and 18 ratings. But we use the PEGI system here. Again, here's like obviously the 3 rated game, and we've got the 7 rated game. That also has violence in it, but Sonic the Hedgehog, like in his game, that sort of violence is nothing compared to Smash Brothers, which is obviously the next tier of violence. And obviously there's different layers of violence in these video games we're looking at. So I've got to be very clear about that. Cartoon violence to realistic comic violence to realistic gore. So there's a whole variety of different layers of maturity here that I want to put out. But yes, I think for if we're talking about mature games, we are talking about actual violence, whether it causes gore to come out or blood, causing gratuitous violence. There are different layers of that. And that's what I just want to be very clear about. So here in Europe, we do distinguish between PEGI 16 and PEGI 18. I do believe from what I've just looked at here, 18 is the more gory violence. But back to you, Sir Joel.
All right, PEGI 18. As I keep hearing in the commercials, that Viraj actually makes a very good point on that. There is a very big difference between the violence that you see in cartoon violence and the M-rated violence that you will see in video games or in other media nowadays that can be rated by the ESRB or PEGI, because of the fact that cartoon violence, we kind of equate that with Bugs Bunny style violence, dropping an anvil on a coyote, or or somebody or the roadrunner leading the same coyote to a hole in the wall which turns out to be painted on. So things like that, that's cartoon violence. But real violence from games like The Punisher, actual torture scenes, or like in all right, we're getting into it already. So Grand Theft Auto, where audience, I am taking the assurance that you guys have led all the kids out of the room already. So Grand Theft Auto, where you can pick up a hooker, have sex with her, have her step out of the car, kill her, and take your money back. So when I described that to the wife earlier, because she hasn't played Grand Theft Auto yet, she said,
who hasn't?
Well, my wife hasn't. She plays Kingdom Hearts. She plays The Sims, things like that. Yeah, actually, that's very true. Joe brings up a good point. We M-rated game players know these things because we have tried all of them. We have explored all the limitations of M-rated games. We want to find out how far we can go with M-rated games. So for those who have played Grand Theft Auto, it's a really good way of replenishing your health without spending any money. So but getting on, that's what the idea of M-rated games are. You push the limits. You can do all the things that you can do normally in real life with much less consequences than what you normally would get. So for our purposes on this discussion, we are going to be having our 2 or 3 most favorite M-rated games from any platform. We are not going to be limiting ourselves to a particular platform like the Super NES or the Game Gear or things like that. We are going to be encompassing all platforms, PC all the way to whatever calculator that you have in your pocket that might happen to have an M-rated game. I mean, it can happen. Who knows? So our criterion for today is it has to be M-rated. It can be on any platform. I would say describe the game. It has to be an M-rated game. Describe why it's M-rated. Give us why, whether it has sexual content, whether it has coarse language, whether it has blood and gore. Describe it. And then try to convince everybody here in the panel why it's worth playing. Or, conversely, if you present a bad game, why it's not worth playing, something that you really don't want anybody to play, even us here. And each panelist, again, 2 to 3 games, and highlight why kids should not play these M-rated games. As in, some of us here in the panel are already fathers or mothers, and in the audience as well. This will serve as a good guide as to why these games might be good for you, but is definitely not good for the kids. So that is going to be our criterion for our discussion for today. How about we begin with our youngest member? I mean, she's already an adult, but she's already played M-rated games. We'll begin with our 2 to 3 games from Miss Charlene, Miss Honoka 99.
I would say my first game that I played here before is Doom.
Hmm.
One of the reasons why people should not be playing this game is because of the bloody violence.
First things
Plus,
first, describe what Doom is, Miss Charlene.
Doom is actually quite a first-person shooter game.
Hmm.
Most likely, basically, is based on Mars,
Hmm.
as I believe in my end,
Hmm.
that you have to destroy every single creatures, or your mission here is to finish the game. That's what I can see here on the stage. But when I played this game, it's actually quite cool though. The graphics, I'm impressed. But technically, I just only played the PS1 game though. Bloody violence, pretty good though, really good, but not actually good for children, because children are not supposed to be playing this game. This is for bad. Yeah, people will might say that um children, you are not allowed to be playing this game. This is only for adults and mature stuff, something like that.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It's an incredibly scary game. When Dan
Yes.
first played this game, he had a full head of hair. He's lost all his hair. He's lost all his He got it back, man. He just went, whoosh.
No, the
Oh,
thing about
Joe.
Dan was if you
All that
before he
alien, the monster
before he
come
played
out.
this
He
game,
calls it
he
like, oh no, because there's a few jump scares in
Oh,
this game. Come out of
yeah.
nowhere.
before
Yes, that would
Dan
agree
played
with
this game,
you.
he had the 80s rocker look, long flowing locks and everything when he would toss his head,
Oh
much
man,
like
it's not.
Like a
JDM right
punk
there,
star
right?
like
Much
that,
like
Oh
Jim
metal.
man,
Podcast.
That's it. That's it. I think. I
The
think. I
mullet.
think.
isn't it?
I'll be honest with you. So you're not far wrong, actually, Viraj. Um, I would say Doom is one of the. I think it's got one of the most jump scares in any game. Really,
Yeah, I would agree
any
with
good
you
old
with
modern
that,
arrows.
Viraj.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Eh,
You
Because
know.
fun
So
fact,
go ahead,
um,
Miss
oh,
Charlene.
I'm so sorry. Cause fun fact of this, yes, you are correct though. This is quite a jump scare. Face it, people will get traumatized when you are playing this game. You will get. I don't want to get scared with the children. You might get a heart attack, or might get epilepsy, something like that. They might get sick in the hospital. I don't want that to happen to my kids.
Mm.
Hmm.
Let's see. Why? Getting into it though, why is it M rated? What about the M rating that we have, Miss Charlene? Does it have uh intense violence, blood and gore, sexual
Yes,
content, and or strong language? Go ahead.
sexual doesn't have any, but
Mm-hmm.
bloody violence, yes, it does
Mm-hmm.
have. That's what the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that I can see here through this game.
It
No
does. It does
sexual.
have. Sorry, it does have a slight sexual connotation with the BFG gun, which is stands for the big fucking gun. Um, it's meant to be a big cock base. It's
I
meant to
got a
be
bit.
a
Yeah, yeah,
I got
you're.
a bit scared there because I thought you got a bit aroused by some of these monsters down. I thought,
oof,
But I would
oof.
say it's bloody
but
violence for me. A bunch of
these teeth you
monsters will
got
be
big
half
man.
naked, like nudity.
I guess so. There's that. Yeah, that's true. And of course, if I remember correctly, some of the Doom Marines are basically your resurrected zombies that are coming at you as well. So you're fighting some of your old comrades. So that's definitely something that you wanna for soldiers. That is definitely something that would be traumatic. So may
Yes.
continue, Miss Charlene.
Okay. So this game's not actually quite. Yes, you will transform into a zombie though, but most likely you will get bitten as like alien creatures from
Mm.
Mars.
Mm.
That's what I can see here through my end though. So yeah, that's all I can see here in
All
this
right.
mission.
Is it worth playing? Why
Yes,
is it worth playing?
it was definitely worth playing because of the graphics of this game. Plus, you can tell every single mission that you can. There are lots of things that you can get: weapons, armor, some a lot like that, health
Hmm.
bars, anything,
Okay.
power ups, skills.
All right. So as we can see that from the footage that Joe is showing here on the video portion, for those of you on the audio portion, a little short description of Doom. It is a first-person shooter game set in, I think Miss Charlene is correct on that one, Mars, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
But
One
the
of
Yes.
movie,
the a space station there has accidentally opened a portal to, well,
Hell.
technically hell,
Yes.
and you being one of the space marines is sent over to go over and eliminate all the demons that are coming out of that portal. So
Well,
that is
not
your role.
well,
Yes.
not only that, Tito
Mm-hmm.
Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if you would watch the movie of Doom, your
Mm.
mission here is to save a bunch of people who are get infected. For those who got infected, you'll have to
Mm.
kill them, of course.
Yes. Mm.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the mission of this game is just to stay out. But in the game, it's actually different. On the movie, you have to
Mm.
save people, but in this game, you have to escape from the aliens.
Ah,
That's the point.
okay.
Is that
Um,
the one with the Rock?
Yes,
yes.
that
Right?
yes.
Ah,
If
yeah.
you actually watch that movie, I would agree with you, Kuya Juan. Yes.
is it a bad
Viraj is
film?
showing his expression already.
I like the film. It's a guilty pleasure, Mark. I can still watch the film. Okay.
Mm.
Mostly because of the chicken. I watch it because of the chicken. But the Rock,
Ah.
listen,
Oh my
Rosamund
God,
Pike is a
same.
great actress. It's not because she's good looking. Yet she's actually a very good actress, Rosamund Pike. She deserves the Academy.
Rosamund Pike. Yeah, I have to admit,
Yeah,
she
Ah,
is a
Rosamund
good
Pike.
actress. Yeah.
I like that one.
But
Oh, but
the
she.
movie, look, say what you like about the movie. The game, when it came out by id Software, was a prolific release. It was one of the first critically acclaimed 3D games that people bought on their PC, and numerous ports of consoles, some better than others. And the soundtrack is pretty banging on this as well. I know we can't hear it, but it's a banging
Yes.
soundtrack too. So, it is a game worth playing because of its relevance in video game history, because of how big a deal it was. It's probably one of the most pirated video games of all time too. But, it was a big deal, and it still is a big deal. It's had spawned a number of sequels, and this is obviously the first one, but they're all great games. id Software had a banger with this, and then Quake following it and going forward. So the first Doom is certainly worth giving a go.
I mean, you bang right, mate. Let's be honest. It essentially exploded the first-person shooter genre, didn't it? Before Doom, we had it, but Doom was what suddenly made that genre catch fire, really. And the violence and gore was a big part of that selling point. So it's this. I think this is a great example of a game where the M rating and the mature content in it was actually a big benefit for gaming overall.
I mean, not to forget Wolfenstein
Yeah.
3D before this, which was pretty violent, but this was the one. This was the one.
Yeah.
that-
Wolfenstein
Yeah.
that got the ball rolling, but this is this was when suddenly everybody this took it into a bigger market, wasn't it? When everybody was suddenly like, "Oh my god, you played this? This is the game to play."
Doom.
Yes, I would agree with you guys because when I see the top rated games from the first person shooter, Doom is one of the best bloody violence games. When they first released this back on the PS1, I would say I would give that a 10 out of 10.
Sweet.
And let's also not forget, Doom is one of the most ported games of all time.
Yeah.
Every single
Agreed.
time that somebody comes out with a new machine, whether it's a new console or a new smart refrigerator or whatever, they try to run Doom on it. It's no joke. Even the calculator. I posted it on our recent
Yeah.
chats that somebody came out with a calculator, and one of the first comments is always, "Can you run Doom on it?" So
Yeah.
it is one of the most common comments. All right, excellent. Good first choice, Miss Charlene, and surprising one considering the fact that you are the youngest person on the panel. But the fact that you have played this is a testament to how good it is, how popular it still is, and how emblematic it is of M-rated games. Let's continue with your next choice of M-rated game.
For my second
Oh wait,
choice,
first
that
things
would
first
be
though, Miss Charlene, one moment. We have a question here. From the chat, if Dan could be so kind as to read it for us.
Yeah, question, guys, is Parodius Da, which was an arcade game shooter, also available on the Super Nintendo, considered an adult game or just a fun game? It's up to players' imagination what he or she sees on the screen.
Okay, I've seen it.
Meaning.
The way you're going with this, it's a child.
I've never heard of that game
it's a pun
before.
game. It's not an adult game. It's a child's game. Parodius is parodies of Parodius. It's fun. I understand that there's innuendos and euphemisms with some of the imagery that you see in this shooter. But if you really want
But
to talk about
can you tell
euphemisms,
me
look
more
at
about this game, though?
Yes, Miss Charlene is inquiring. Describe it, Viraj.
Yeah, can you describe it for
We
me?
haven't
Because I've
Konami.
actually never heard about this game,
It's
Right.
Parodius.
Grady. Do you know Gradius? Do you know Gradius,
Yes, I've
Michelle?
heard of Gradius now.
It's a parody. It's a cartoon parody of Gradius, and included in that parody are some slightly risky moments, but not. You know, you've got a girl that's laid down. She's naked underneath a towel, but the towel covers her tits and everything like that. So it's perfectly fine, really. But it does have a few risky bits in like that.
Yeah, so it's got Twinbee and it's got like all of Konami's sort of shooter sort of elements and some of their
Konami
characters.
code.
They all go together and they play. It's just a bit of fun, but honestly, if you want to look at an M-rated shooter or a game that should be, there's Guy Noog on the Mega Drive. The first boss was like a big giant, and the other game is called Choaniki.
Choaniki, I was about to say Choaniki.
We'll talk about some filthy shooters or some questionable shooters.
Divine Ceiling as well. Divine Ceiling.
Yeah,
Don't forget
that's purely an M. That's an M-rated game. Yeah, I'm surprised you know about that game. Oh, you would know about that, wouldn't you, Dan? But
we are allowed to mention the games, the M-rated games nowadays, because of the fact that our theme right now is M-rated games. Of course, Choaniki is like
the bodybuilder fetish.
Yeah.
It's probably I can't think of many games before that had a gay theme. You know what I mean? It is a pure gay bumming room.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so yeah, you are correct though. This is more familiar than Gradius.
That's
true. Showing the innuendo bits, but yeah, it's a parody. It's not an M-rated game.
This is Joe's just skipping that. Here we are.
There she is.
Shit, man.
Yes. Well, I mean,
when you're 13-year-old, that's still you can still have a little fantasy to over that. I'm sure Joe did.
Joe gets excited over trees.
Oh, you would say like this.
To press himself against that. We know
what? Put a skirt on a tree and he's all over it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing, it for a 13-year-old, it is very risque. But for people who are more our age already, like me, 50 years old, half a century old, it's it's a nice little bit of art. All right. Continue, Miss Charlene. Your second game on the M-rated games list is
GTA. You already guys know Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
The one that I played during my stream, if you guys actually watched my stream back then earlier, was GTA 3. So this is actually the first time that I played this game. This is more likely on Liberty City. If you are familiar with this, Liberty City is like based on New York City. So it's like sexually harassment, something blah blah blah, something like that. You already guys know every single mission. Every single corner is just the same. Weapons, sexual harassment, killing stuff. Like that, something like that. You just have to do some missions though. Just follow the rules, then there. But I would suggest people are not allowed to be playing this game. This is only for adults only. Because if you would do that, you'll get traumatized there. For me, to be honest, I've actually played GTA games when I was a kid. That was actually back on the computer shop. I played GTA Vice City and San Andreas, but my parents actually got mad at me because I did play the games I'm not supposed to do, but I didn't follow them because I still played the game. It was really fun. Bloody violence, though, like literally.
They turned you into a terror. Turned you into a terror. You got out. The influence was negative, and now you're with this motley crew of savages doing this podcast. Wonderful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the influence of it. That's the influence of it. Now you're part of us. Yeah. Now you're
Now that I'm an adult, now I would definitely play a lot of M-rated games. No one will make my rule.
Well, you did describe a little bit of why it's M-rated. So, can you go into a little bit more detail as to why it's M-rated, Miss Charlene? Does it have sexual content? Does it have vulgar language? Does it have intense violence? Things like that.
Yes. Yes, Tita Joel. I would agree
Mhm.
with you with this. Yes, you are correct though. M rated, sexually, bloody, also as well foul words like fuck, bitch, like so, shut
Mhm.
up, asshole, like something like that. Sorry
Mhm.
for my language, everyone, for those
Oh
who
no,
are
no,
in the
no! We're
podcast.
M
I'm
rated for
rated,
mature
mate.
today. Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you would
No holds
agree with that.
barred.
Yeah,
Mhm.
son of a bitch, man. You've been such a douchebag.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Sexual
there you go.
harassment, you're having sex with a person there in the bar. Pick
Mhm.
up some chicks. Something like
Yes,
that.
that's true.
This is like a different Charlene that we're speaking with.
That is very true, JDM. That is very
Okay, well,
true.
the game does have a lot of vulgar language in there. There is a crime element to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Drugs, also everything is there. Everything that you can do
Yeah.
is that you can steal cop cars, you can kill police, you kill people in this game. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not. You know, it deals with a lot of dark themes. Let's be honest, you're a criminal in this game. It
Mhm.
deserves its M rating, but
Ooh.
there are people that. I mean, this is another subject related to the M rated genre, which is
Mhm.
people who
I would agree with that. But
who
in
love
my
their
end, all
Sorry.
GTA games.
Let's have Viraj finish his point. Go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead,
I'm
But
Viraj.
sorry.
games like Grand Theft Auto had spawned off even darker games by Rockstar. We'll
Mm,
touch on Manhunt in a bit, but there are people who've been influenced by these games. Very
Mhm.
small minority that have
Mhm.
given video games like this a really terrible bad name by saying, well, people are negatively influenced by these games and are committing crimes. And there is
Mhm.
something to be said about that, but in violence in video games, I equate the same to violence in movies, like with Tarantino. You know, people going about, oh, Tarantino, you have this in your films. People are
Mhm.
inspired by your violence. People are committing violence. Well, it's an art form, like video
Mhm.
games. It's not reality. In fact, I would argue that games like GTA let us take our violence thoughts and take it out and simulate it there rather than the real world. It's a good stress.
Catharsis.
How
It's
is it
catharsis,
a good
basically.
feeling
Yeah.
of
mm,
stealing a car and
Mhm.
crashing it and shooting someone instead of shooting someone that you really want to do in real life?
Mhm.
For me, it's
yeah.
a way to deal with stress, and it's a stress relief for Grand Theft Auto. So I do look. My view, I'll put it out there. I think
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong as long as you understand it's fantasy, because that's exactly what this is, and you
Mhm.
don't take your demons with you in the real world. And I think with young people, they are influenced by this stuff. Young people
Mhm.
don't have the maturity to realize that this is fantasy, and that's why these games should be for the mature audience. That's the bottom line. So yes, it is. It does have that in there, but for adults, yeah, for the mature people, we have to be mature to understand that these games are for those sort of people. And this is a good choice that you've chosen, Michelle. This is actually the what I would call the new renaissance of mature video games. Grand Theft Auto 3 really did set a benchmark for what
Mhm.
games, more mature games in the 3D world would look like. So good choice, Michelle. Very good.
Thank you
Mhm.
Yes,
very
well said,
much,
mate. Well said.
Viraj.
I
Yeah,
think
but
as I think as well. I mean, some great points there, Viraj. I think if you look at it, what you mentioned with the movie tie-ins,
Mm,
Grand Theft Auto Vice City is essentially Scarface.
mm,
You know what
Mm.
I mean? It has
mm,
got a lot of other movie influences in there,
mm.
but
mm,
Scarface is a fucking brutal film. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Grand
yeah,
Theft Auto
such
3
fuck,
had the
man.
Scarface soundtrack in it. It's in the radio
Mm.
Yeah.
station on Grand Theft Auto 3, but they couldn't put it in Vice City. But you had a lot of 80s pop music in there. Actually
Mm.
introduced people to a lot of
Mm,
80s pop music. So there are, again, like, it's very good to look at historical points of view, and it can introduce a younger audience to older stuff as well. But again, you're very right. It does have a it does have a reflection as to popular culture films as well.
Yeah.
And to draw that, it was inspired by that in this video game. And for those of us who like those sort of films, will love this video game.
I think I might have seen an article most recently about some parents being thankful for Grand Theft Auto's Vice Cities introducing children to banger 80s hits.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's, something about
nice.
that. So Grand
Lots of
Theft Auto Vice
sing-alongs.
City,
Iran.
JDM would agree with me on this one because he and I are huge 80s guys when it comes to music. So Grand Theft Auto Vice City is the game to play if you want to listen. I've said this to JDM before, and he completely agreed with me. One of the most perfect moments in Grand Theft Auto Vice City is cruising down the boulevard, sunset in the background,
Mm,
hearing
True.
Broken Wings while you're riding your
mm,
faux
mm,
Ferrari, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, or
Then
Lamborghini.
being
Yeah,
Wow.
followed by like a bunch of police
cops.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one part. Do not get caught by the cops. Do not get
Mm-mm.
caught.
That's
Otherwise, you'll
true.
get
That's true.
busted.
So that's your
That's
penalty as well if you committed a lot of crime in the game. You'll
Yeah.
be caught by the police and you will
mm,
be stripped of your weapons and maybe some of your
money.
money.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
Alright.
one of my
and be a law-abiding citizen. I mean, I've actually played Grand Theft Auto, but let's see if I can get from one side of the city without committing a crime to another. And without getting, that was a challenge for me not to get done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. That's
One of my favorite memories in gaming was when I first played Vice City, and there's a mission where you have to beat somebody to death with a golf club, and the theme tune to that mission is Japanese Boy. So sorry, Japanese.
yeah.
Japanese.
Turning Japanese. Sorry,
Turning Japanese, yeah.
Turning
Japanese?
by the vapors. Turning Japanese. By the
Yes.
vapors. And so not only are you beating somebody to death with a golf club, the song "Turning Japanese" by the Vapors is actually about masturbation. It's about being in prison and masturbation, and it's also racist because the phrase of being Japanese, it's taking the piss out of the Japanese.
Yes.
Right, and are they all wank? So you've got so much adult content in that one, in that all rammed in there. So it's definitely worth its rating.
Although Viraj makes a very good point. Being an M-rated game and an M-rated game, you also have the choice to play it completely G, as in E for everybody. You can try to get through one end of the map to another without running anybody over, incurring the wrath of the cops, or
No red
anything like that.
lights. No,
Sorry,
don't
what
run
was-
red lights. Drive by the highway code. You stop at a red light. Yeah, I've done that. I just did it for fun. I'll be a good boy. I felt
Yeah,
miserable.
I would agree with you with that. I just play for fun though. But some people are you guys familiar actually with cheat codes there? Because some
Oh, yeah.
people are playing cheat codes.
The bazooka rap.
They're creating weapons though.
There's also a part in Vice City that you can play as a good guy because sometimes you see like cops chasing other criminals, right? Then you try to chase that culprit, and they give you like a bonus of $50.
That's true. I do recall that one. Yes, it's although if you had the misfortune of accidentally shooting the cop while he was running after the bad guy, then you're the guy who he runs after next. So
Which is
Yeah,
different
which
from
is good.
it's different in Vice City because whenever you see like a police car in front of you, then someone like bumped into it, then they start
Yeah.
doing a car chase. Then that's one part that I like in San Andreas. You can do like a chaff film, like following those
do
car
not Google
chase.
that. Okay. Do not Google that. Okay. So just that. Just wanted to let you guys know. Do not Google that term. Okay.
Yeah, do not. Yeah, please do not do that because otherwise you'll get caught.
All right. We just we on the chats right now. I am just personally saying hi to Matt Bustle of Bustle Plays Games and Cheat
Hey,
Codes.
what's
Hey,
We're
up?
the
Mas. Hey,
best. Hello,
Matt.
Matt.
How's
It's
it
great to see you.
going?
Thanks very much for passing by the podcast. We are very, very happy to have old friends and you coming over to listen to us talk about M-rated games. Excellent. So Miss Charlene has presented her two favorite M-rated games, and we are very impressed with her choices. Excellent.
Hey,
All right,
thanks.
now let's move on to our next panelist. I'd like to bring in Viraj on this one. Viraj, I'd like to
Right.
hear your choices as for M-rated games.
Right, so we'll start in chronological order, shall we? From the very beginning to what we're at now. So
It's a very good place to start from the very beginning.
So
Okay.
for me, I know Sir Powell in the comments section made a point about this just moments ago about let's start with the original M-rated game, or the one that really caused the controversy for ESRB and the Video Game Age Rating Council to be formed in the first place. And there are a couple. One was obviously Night Trap on the Sega CD, which is strangely given an M. I don't believe it deserves an M rating, but anyway, it's Mortal Kombat. That's the game I'm talking about by Midway. Yeah, Mortal Kombat, the Midway arcade game. You see it there playing. Goodness me, this game was.
Hang on, Sir Viraj. You need to shout it. You need to shout it.
I'm not going to shout Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Oh, Mortal Kombat.
You know?
Mortal Kombat!
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That theme that just- Oh, so it's actually on the Sega CD version. Actually, you hear that theme tune. So that was amazing.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
The theme tune, that actual theme tune, the Mortal Kombat thing is actually on the Sega CD version, the Mortal Kombat game.
Okay.
This one had the numerous ports. It was obviously an arcade game, and it exploded. In fact, it's in the top 50 highest-grossing video game franchises of all time. Mortal Kombat. It's a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal then. It's a big deal now.
Well, describe what Mortal Kombat is first.
Yes, it's a versus fighter game in a similar vein that Street Fighter is. And back in those days, obviously Street Fighter was the other one, the main one in the arcade. But this thing uses digitized graphics. Okay, so they actually had real actors, real models. They took pictures of them, and they made them do all the fighting poses and the moves when they were doing it in the video games and making the video games. They all put it together, and they had recorded graphics of these pre-rendered sprite, put them into a pre-rendered sprite that actually made them look real. And you're just fighting, but it's not just any fighting game. With Street Fighter, you'll take a guy out, but this thing, yes, there's a strong level of gratuitous violence in the level of gore that's produced in the game. And it's not just the amount of violence, it's the fatality aspect of the game. And that was the gratuitous part, which is basically you can be one character, and as a fatality move, you can rip someone's head off.
Fatality.
One character can spit acid and make somebody melt, stuff like this. And you buying these video games for your kids? What's going on? You know? And
No, do not do that, please.
we've got a fatality going on here. What's going on? What's she doing? Oh, yeah, she blows it. Anyway, look, he's going to blow up in that video. There we go. So that's the level of. I mean, I'm sure it's obviously the graphics as the game series went forward to Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3. The graphics got better and the detail got better, and obviously the fatalities got better. A lot more. And that's why people wanted to want this game. Thought, the violence, it made it a lot more fun. It was something different. Nobody ever saw anything like this before in the arcades and at home. So, and also you have an interesting roster of characters, some human. You also have the mythology around it. Okay, we're only one realm. There's Outworld and all these other sort of entities out there that aren't human that you fight as well. Robotic individuals. All of them have their own backstory. So it was a game that had a lot of history and lore to it already. There was a lot of thickness to it, and that's what sprung off the series and the story. There's obviously the mythologies and the story that people like to follow as well. So there's a lot of depth to it. And it also had the movies. Let's not forget Mortal Kombat 2. Not as violent as the video games, I felt. The first two movies were quite tense. The new movie was quite violent, I felt. But they were what they were at the time. And as a series, it's grown from... I played it on the Mega Drive. Obviously, there was a Super Nintendo version. The Mega Drive version outdid the Super Nintendo version because they kept the blood in. The Super Nintendo version was famously censored. And Nintendo were actually in the Senate saying, well, we've censored our version. Those guys at Sega, you need to have a look at them. That's what they were implying. And I remember watching that video about them saying we're actually more of a family company, whereas the other lot, they're the ones that you should be really keeping an eye on. And, in all fairness, I think the question is, would you let your kids play this? That's the question. I mean, it's M-rated it became M-rated. It was notorious. It wasn't even M-rated when it came out. It's because of this game. There was an ESRB rated system, and it is now an M-rated game. But in my opinion, I played it underage, because everybody talked about this game. I was in primary school when this game came out, and came along. But everyone was talking about this game because their older brothers had it, and they played it. They had access to this. Now, the violence in this, yes, there were real people with digitalized graphics, and you did see that blood. It's fake blood, it's cartoon blood, it's real. The concept of it is real. Is it frightening for your young children to have access to this? I mean, we talked about how we have, cartoon violence. And the earlier Mortal Kombat game, I'll say, is more akin to that because it does look cartoon because the graphics were limited at the time. It's not that scary. Yes, I wouldn't let a 6-year-old play it, because they just wouldn't be able to play it. But would I allow a 10, 11-year-old to play this? Yeah, sure, why not? I don't think it was that big a deal for the time then. I don't think the first 3 Mortal Kombat games were even that big a deal now. The newer Mortal Kombat games, yes, they deserve the hard M rating because not only is the violence a lot more detailed, there's also bad language and whatnot used in these games, with voice acting and that aspect being put there. It has gone for that hard M audience. Like Mortal Kombat 11, for example, I think there's a new one that's out now. I haven't played it yet. Well, a new one that's coming out. No one's played it yet. But Mortal Kombat 11 did have swearing and it's got the dialogue in there. But it incredibly graphic and is violent, and the fatalities are very real. So I would say that game really did shake up the industry because it was the first of its kind, being an M-rated game, first very violent graphical game, but it has continued to have that reputation consistently without every incarnation in its sequel be that, and then some.
It is actually one of the influential forces that began the formation of the ESRB. Really, honestly, because of Mortal Kombat, because of its graphic depiction of violence, it forced the formation of the ESRB because senators started getting into the talk about are video games too violent for children already overall, and the ESRB was formed to self-regulate the industry. The industry was going to be self-regulating itself to choose which games are appropriate for children and which games are appropriate for adults. But first things first, I would like to congratulate Viraj for having earned the honorary title of honorary Filipino, because he just got called Kuya on the chat. He says, somebody, Joseph Cirilo Vergara says, Kuya Viraj, who is your favorite character in Mortal Kombat? Mine is Scorpion and Sub-Zero. A legitimate question, Viraj.
Mine was always the hero Liu Kang, because I like to be the hero in video games. And the dragon, I like that. But Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
I would have called that the turkey kick, but anyway. Because that's the sound that turkeys make. So that's, Viraj just earned his honorary Filipino badge. And good. It's a good rundown, actually, Viraj, because of the fact that I would say starting up from 10, Mortal Kombat 10 had the X-ray vision. Whenever you would do one of the special moves, you would see people's bones getting crushed, their blood spattering like crazy and everything. Women growing testicles and getting crushed by themselves, even if it's even if it's biologically impossible. So that's the thing. Mortal Kombat has always prided itself on being cutting edge in terms of violence and gore. And that is one of the reasons why it has consistently earned the M rating for video games. All right.
Okay, so we got Kuya Viraj, favorite character. How about
Kuya
Kuya Dan?
Viraj.
Kuya Dan, there you
Kuya
go.
Dan.
Now Dan has earned his honorary Filipino badge too. There you go, Dan.
What does Kuya mean?
Kuya means elder brother.
Kuya means big brother.
Elder brother.
Like when he
Elder
said-
brother,
I
yes.
thought because we're M rated, it means cunt.
well, Dan, do you have a favorite Mortal Kombat character?
I'd probably say Liu Kang myself. Yeah, I like Viraj. I liked his. Yeah.
The turkey kick, fine, okay. I guess it just goes to show that even if we're talking about adult themes, people still like playing the hero. We still there's an old saying, we are always the hero in our own stories. There you go. All right, good choice.
Blade or Princess Katana, Dan. I'm shocked.
That's true.
I just like them. I'll be honest with you. I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. I'm a big, and he were clearly ripped off. Bruce Lee, weren't they? So
that's Fei Long. Fei Long from Street Fighter.
Fei Long,
exactly.
Or was it Law in Tekken?
Well, yeah, you have
Law. Law. There you go.
Actually, the people
Combat. There you have it. Someone actually said in the comment section, "Am I familiar with the Mortal Kombat lore?" I followed the histories and lore up to, with the first trilogy. I did play Deadly Alliance, and I was familiar with that. And then a break from Mortal Kombat. I played Mortal Kombat 11 recently. I'm like, wait, I missed out on a whole chunk of history and lore. What's going on there? So I'm familiar with all the backstories, all the people that wanted to conquer everything and all this stuff. So I'm familiar with it, but it's all like a distant memory now because there's just so many characters now. It's hard to keep up with these
I
things.
didn't even know there was a story.
There is actually a story mode, Kuya Juan. If you actually played the game of that, you would definitely find out.
But
the modern games also include horror characters now. You've got Freddy Krueger, you've got Jason Voorhees,
you've got the DC Comics character in there.
Yes.
So you've got a lot. When they're saying it's gone gory, you've got literal, again, movie characters, horror movie characters. In
Warner Brothers. Well, the reason that is because Warner Brothers has the rights to the Mortal Kombat now, and they can mix their own movie characters like DC Comics with that. So you're going to have a much more richer universe. And another thing I forgot to mention about Mortal Kombat is what made it more violent is when they introduced weapons in Deadly Alliance. Like those characters have weapons now. What is this? You're fisting up magical powers enough. You have to use weapons and stuff. So there's different fighting styles that were incorporated, and that was a huge evolution for Mortal Kombat and fighting games in general. I won't say Mortal Kombat are the only ones. They all have their adapted fighting style. So it mixes up the fighting gameplay. But yes, to conclude with Mortal Kombat, it is an incredibly violent fighting game. No, the new ones today, definitely not for your kids. But if you're paying like 1 to 3, the first trilogy, because the digitized graphics are like so primitive now, I'd say if they're 10 years old, you can introduce them to Mortal Kombat. It's not even.
All right, that's a good conclusion to it, and a good choice actually. Mortal Kombat definitely M rating and significant to our topic because of the fact that it is essential to the formation of these regulatory boards like the ESRB and the PEGI system. All right, Raj, what is your second choice of M-rated game?
This one is one that genuinely is the first video game that I could say. Well, I was an infant when I played Shadow of the Beast, but we're not talking about Shadow of the Beast. We're talking about Resident Evil.
Oh,
Okay,
looks like there's a one-person favorite.
But yeah, Resident Evil is a series. It was actually number 2, I would say, that really stands out as something that really did frighten me because there's a creature in there called a licker.
Oh, hang on. You need to say the title first.
Well,
you need to say it right.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Yeah.
Resident Evil.
There you go.
That's it. This is going to be a continuing theme, I think. Anyway, Resident Evil as a series has, from the first 3, I'd say the second game was the one for me in terms of the first 3. The second one is, if I had to pick one of them that I like from that era, maybe 4 and 2. But 2 was the main one that really frightened me. That's why I'm going to mention that and talk about it. But we've probably got, I don't know which Resident Evil game we're playing here now, but I think that's Resident Evil 0, is it? But anyway.
Quick description of what Resident Evil is for us.
It's a survival horror game. It was the first. I mean, there were probably, I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but for me, it's the first mainstream survival horror game. Yes, there have been others since they're like Parasite Eve and Silent Hill, which I'm sure JDM is going to discuss later on. But we have Resident Evil was the first one that really caught my eye because of what's happened is there's a city called Raccoon City. Okay, there's a corporation called the Umbrella Corporation. They were doing experiments. Okay. Something got out, the T virus got out, and what this virus, well, obviously the intention was to regenerate human tissue, but it obviously wasn't quite what they wanted, and they let this virus go out, and basically it woke the undead, okay, because it got into the sewer system. The rats got infected first, and they started biting some of the people, the workers, and then they all got infected, and then they started biting the other people, and before you know it, you got this pandemic of a city now infested with zombies, right? And
the road to hell is paved with good intentions. What can I say?
So, number 2. Like that, I'll talk about number 2 because it's about Leon, the main cop. He's a cop, and it starts off. And it's like a movie. It's quite cinematic. Obviously, it's blocky graphics, but it's like there's a gun in the glove box. So that Claire Redfield's in the car with it, and you're starting off, and you're gonna go. You got your guns, but you don't want to use your guns, and you literally the noises and what frightened me about this game wasn't necessarily the graphics and it's how the zombies could lurch at you, and it's also how the sound of this game is the audio of this game, the atmosphere of this game. That frightened me as a kid. It took me a while. It took me a couple of years to come back to that game because it wasn't a game I was comfortable with. And there's a bit in the police station. Obviously, you've got the dogs. And it's not just zombies. It's other creatures as well. There's one creature, and you see it in the movies as well. This obviously spawned a movie franchise that has gone on for a while. There's this one creature called the Licker that I mentioned earlier. Now, I don't know if you get a video of one of those creatures up there. And it is by singly one of the most frightening scenes I play in the video game. It's a jumpy skit scene. It's a spoiler alert for anyone who's played it, but who hasn't played it. But there's a bit when you're in a police station. You know when you go in those rooms, the interview rooms, where you can see them, but they can't see you. One of those ones. You go into that scene where there's just a mirror, and then suddenly, like without you know it, something smashes through. It's one of these licker creatures. I was like, "What is this?" Whoa! And they lick you and they lash you and all sorts of stuff. And you see a little video clip of it before you even do that. It's crawling on the ceiling, and you see a really, very well made CGI video of this thing before you even encounter it. It scared me, and the dogs were scary. Everything was scary about this film. Sorry, film. I say film. It's a video game, but it's like you're playing a movie, and you felt really. Thing with Resident Evil, you play it at night time. All right, nights. Everyone's sleeping, and you're a kid. Now, back in those days, okay, this is an embarrassing truth. I hope my dad's not listening. All right, this is what I used to do because my parents want me to go to sleep on time for school. Okay, I had a little CRT TV, 14-inch. And I knew that my parents would see if I'm not sleeping because the light would flicker under the door. I took the CRT TV I put it on my bed. I put the duvet over the CRT. They can't see it. And I put my headphones in the CRT TV so no audio leaks out. And I'm under the mattress playing this video game on my, and it's frightening me because I'm proper close to the screen now. So you can imagine how I'm like jumping. I was like scared out of my life playing this game, and that frightened me. I thought, you know what, this game is killing me. My heart jumped. My heart literally skipped. It's the first game that really gave me that shocking jump. And going forward, you got Nemesis and all of them, and the game actually gets much more disturbing with the storyline, if anything. Obviously, Dan and the Sega Mega Masters are one of our mates, Rick, was playing Resident Evil Village, and there's obviously the darker side of the evil in these games. So the story does continue to get much darker and darker and blacker and blacker. But what I will say is, as a series, I think it's the king of survival horror, king of horror. I would say. I mean, saying that, I can't really say that because I haven't played every single horror game in the world yet. That's the one that I think a lot of people will say, good Lord, like you have to have a strong stomach to play this game.
Make no mistake, though, Resident Evil is not the first survival horror game. That honor, one of the earlier games in this series is Alone in the Dark, if anybody remembers that one. But yeah, Resident Evil put the survival horror genre into the forefront. I would agree with Raj on that one. And I guess the mature portion, the thing that earns Resident Evil the mature rating would probably be the horror aspect, wouldn't you say, Raj? The kind that kids would have nightmares over.
Yeah. I have a question though.
Go ahead, Miss
That
Charlene.
you mentioned Alone in the Dark. Can you tell me
Yes.
more about that movie or the
Oh
game
yeah.
that?
Alone in the Dark is an old I think it was 90s PC game that featured it's also a survival horror game. It features I forgot the name of the guy, Edward Carnby, I think, if I remember correctly. He goes to this house and tries to survive the horrors that start jumping at him. It's a lot like Resident Evil in the sense that the idea is a lot of psychological horror instead of jump scares. I mean, there are lots of jump scares there too, but you feel dread as you go through the mansion, and a lot of different very strange angles that got incorporated into Resident Evil as well. The camera point of view has you seeing the main character and Carnby going through the mansion and trying to solve all these puzzles for you to be able to figure out what's happening and hopefully be able to get out of the house in one piece. So as you can see in the footage that Joe is showing right now, it's early 90s. It's the character is very very blocky, very polygon based, and
That's so scary. Those graphics scare me. They're hurting my eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what scares
Actually, that
Raj.
makes. But
It's
a fun fact, Tita Joel. But this
Mm.
game actually is like more like a clue game, puzzle
A lot
survival.
like it actually.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would say that Resident Evil does take a lot from the Alone in
Yeah.
the Dark series, especially that what we can see in the footage right now, like mixing up inventory
Oh.
items, seeing zombies pop up at the most unexpected moments, and trying to escape horrifying situation that you find yourself in. So yeah, Alone in the Dark. If you guys want to check out the origins of PC survival horror games, that's one of the games to play.
Does it have a
Um,
PS1 version?
good question. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it does. It was mostly on the PC, but it had
it does.
sequels.
It does have a PlayStation version.
Really? Okay.
Really?
PS1 and
I
PS1,
would
PS2.
definitely find that out. I will try downloading that game.
PS1, PS2, yeah.
Dang. Okay. Because I remember distinctly playing this on PC. If there was a PS1 version, definitely I'd give that a try. And you might want to give it a try too, Miss Charlene.
All
All
right,
right.
I'll give it a try.
All right. So Viraj has put forward his two top M-rated games. One is a survival horror game, which we saw earlier, and one is technically survival horror too, because you're trying to survive the horror of people trying to kill you in Mortal Kombat. Anyway.
Yeah, but you guys are excited for Mortal
Hmm.
Kombat 1 to be
Oh,
released
that's a
on
good question. I
September?
saw that question on the chat. I
Yeah.
think it was Ariel Bianes who said, speaking of Mortal Kombat, are you guys surprised that they're restarting the story of Mortal Kombat?
I'm not
Yes. Instead of Raiden, Liu Kang will be the one who will be the leader.
Mm-hmm.
Will be the
Dan,
god.
I'd like to hear Dan's opinion on it.
Well, I've got to be honest. I'm not a fan of the series.
Aw.
I think it's a gimmick series. I think it worked. This is a brilliant episode because we're highlighting just how much the gore and the shock factor carried that series. To actually play as a versus fighter, it weren't very, very good in my opinion. It were okay, but when you got Street Fighter, King of Fighters, and all these, all the versus games to play, it just didn't play that well. You know what I mean? Now, as for the reboot, I think it needs a reboot because the story is like Viraj says, it's a bloody mess. The story, and it needs starting from scratch again. I think it's evolved. I don't know if any of you have played the later ones, but it actually plays now more like an arcade game that was ported to the Super Nintendo called Killer Instinct.
Oh, I remember Killer Instinct.
Oh, Killer Instinct, yes.
Yeah.
Killer Instinct was very combo based. It's very automated, and the later Mortal Kombat games have kind of evolved into that type of game. But again, I'm not that into that style of combat. I like tit for tat. When I'm playing versus, I like tit for tat combat where it's where you have to think on your feet and where at any minute you can be knocked out. Whereas the Mortal Kombat and the Killer Instinct games, once you've got a combo mastered, you can break out in it. They're all parry moves and bits and bobs, but it's not as good to me. So it's a series that's very reliant on that gore and shock factor. So we'll see what they do with the next one. We'll see if they evolve it, mate. We'll see if they evolve it.
All right. Joe, who is next on our list of presenters?
We can go with Sir Dan.
All right.
I didn't third game. I thought we were doing 3 games. Or we
okay, fine. All right. Well, for Viraj, we'll allow it. Let's do a third game for Viraj. Okay.
Are we okay? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the third game, I wanted to mention, it was actually mentioned in the run-up to the show in the past. This game is like a little-known game. Dan's going to be like, what? Like he hates the N64, but this one game I liked on it was called Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any voiced title sequence, so Joel. So
Okay. Well, describe Conker's Bad Fur Day then.
Well, this is it, right? This is really interesting, this game, because it is an M-rated game, but you wouldn't think it if you looked at it, because it's got cartoony graphics, and this is why it's worth mentioning, because it's something that a lot of people who know, but I think it might have missed a lot of people's radar. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being naive in thinking that. But basically, Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's by Rareware, okay, who made Donkey Kong Country and Killer Instinct, as we just mentioned. Now, and I think they did obviously GoldenEye, which is Dan's favorite game on Nintendo 64, as we know, and Perfect Dark as well. And it plays you play as Conker the Squirrel, which is one of Rareware's characters, and obviously the adventure that you go on is he's got to go and find his girlfriend because she's been kidnapped or whatever. You have to go on this adventure, but it's actually an incredibly vulgar, foul-mouthed game with incredibly funny humor in there, where you have musical renditions with with a lot of profanity in it as well. There's musical renditions. There's a lot of innuendos in this. There's a Grim Reaper called Greg who hates cats and swears. When you die, you go and meet a Grim Reaper. And he resurrects you and he goes, I hate fucking cats, hate them all. And it goes on and on. And it's hilarious. It's just a really hilarious, it's like a dark comedy, but it's got cartoon graphics. So you wouldn't think that a kiddie game like this would have that kind of language. But in all, it is actually a very, very good game for Nintendo 64. The way it controls, the fact that the game isn't just a platformer game. You have problem-solving elements to it, and you have these little mini games you have to shoot certain things, etc., etc. So it's a very fun game, very creative in the way it's designed. Lots of innuendos. Like there's this. I remember there's a scene where you see this daffodil. Okay, it's very sexually spoken daffodil. It's a very sexual plant, probably the most sexiest plant I've ever seen. Sexiest poison ivy, but you can see she's got these green buds. Okay, that obviously they're meant to resemble the femininity of it. She's got some curves on her. And it's funny and. There are again. It's full of a lot of sexual undertones and humor. It's got a lot of parodies. Like there's a bit where you have to fight what is the alien queen in this to save your girlfriend, and obviously he gets on this walker, and it's a parody of films, it's a parody of popular culture. It's a lot of fun. So, there we go, fellatio. There we go. So a lot of fun. It's all there. A lot of tongue in cheek.
That's why I laugh.
Game.
Yeah.
Nintendo, they didn't want to publish this. THQ published it because it was just too adult for them. So it actually had a hefty price tag. I think it was £60 back in 1997, 98 when it came out. That was a lot of money back then.
Is it? But I have a question. Is it rare?
Rareware, yeah. Oh, you talking about
like
game?
The game itself, the game.
I think it is quite rare now. Yeah, sadly. I mean, you can get it. And if you want to sail the seven seas, there's another way you can play it.
Oh,
but,
definitely, yeah.
But it's a rare game, sadly. Rare, made by Rareware and rare because it's hard to find now. But if you can get it, give it a go, play it, and then if you sell it again, you'll get your money back because it's so collectible. So you don't really lose much, and that's his girlfriend, the grey squirrel. But it's a lot of fun. And I like how the grey squirrel has an American accent because it's an American squirrel, and how Conker's got a sort of British accent because it's a red squirrel, but that's another story. But it's a lot of fun. But I just want to throw that in there quickly. It's different, and it's an M-rated game, which is actually good. Would I let my kids play it? No. I think it's definitely 18 rated because the content in there. It's not. It's got a kid's look about it. The language that's used in there. It is just not appropriate for kids. So it's definitely a hard 18 with 16, I'd say 16 rated game, I'd say, if we're looking at the pure rating of it. But yeah, it is a lot of fun, and it is actually a very good game. So I just wanted to just end with that particular game and throw that one out there. It's worth talking about.
It's very deceptive. You see cartoon graphics, you think, the kids are going to have a fun time with this.
Prepare to moon him. Oh,
That's
okay.
actually good for kids
Show their
games,
butts.
though. I don't see it's any M-rated for this one.
Well, there's this song that's there's this character called the Big Mighty Pooh, and he sings a song. He says, "I am the big, great, mighty Pooh. I'm going to throw my shit at you."
No wonder.
How about some scat, you little twat? And he just starts throwing shit at you. And it's a boss in this game. And when you listen to this, you think, bloody hell, this is quite. I was shocked because my cousin had this game. His parents bought it for him. His parents didn't know any better, did they? Or maybe he had enough pocket money saved up and he managed to get it somehow. But yeah, he got this game, and when we played it, we just started laughing at it. But I can understand for young children under 10 now, this is not a no-no. If you're 15, 16, you could probably get away with this game.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
guess
they have
JJ,
intended to bait the parents to buy this game. Because if the cover, right?
Kids
It
could have
looks
got away
innocent.
with buy this because they think, it's just a kid's game from looking at it.
Yeah.
But the content is so dark. Like
They didn't even bother to read the
Full print.
PEGI. Yeah. Right?
Well, PEGI
the
wasn't around when this
rating.
game came out. It was actually the ELSP rating then. But even then,
it already got the M rating from the ESRB. Let's see. From Oth Kalimpo, it's funny how on the chat, it's funny how Conker went from an innocent boy in Diddy Kong Racing to that. I'm not quite sure which came first though. I'm not as good with the history of the Donkey Kong's properties, but yeah. If that's the character, if it's deceptive from the very beginning, that you think it's a stealth adult game, shall we say?
Well, Diddy Kong Racing did come out in '97. It was an early
97.
release, whereas this game was a late release for Nintendo 64 in 2001. So
I see.
Towards the end of the N64's life, when the GameCube was just about to release it.
Okay. And of course, for those of you who are looking for it, it is in the Rare Replay compilation for who have Xbox games, who have Xbox consoles. There you go. Rare Replay. That's the name of the compilation. All right, Dan. On to you. I know you are the mature master on this one. I'd like to hear your choices about what M-rated games are the best for you, best for you to play, and best to introduce to both our panelists and to the audience.
Right, no problem. Well, I'm going to go with probably the oldest game that we've had so far, and it's The Immortal.
The Immortal, yes.
Which is a 1990 release, originally for the Apple IIGS, but it got ported. It got ported to a lot of systems, including Nintendo, Amiga, and I obviously played and owned the Sega Mega Drive version. So this actually existed before a time when the M ratings and all that was set in place. So this got it stirred up a fair bit a controversy by word of mouth and magazines. Basically, this was a game that your friends said and people at game shops said, "Fucking hell, you got to see some of the deaths in this. It's all about the deaths." So we'll talk about the actual game first. I mean, it's an isometric RPG, okay, and it's basically built around puzzle solving, decision making. There's a lot of, we don't want to say a lot, but there's a fair bit of trial and error involved. But it's also a very clever game that if you can think ahead and you can follow the clues, that saves you some of the trial and error. Okay, so it gets a bit miscredited, but there's a lot of traps and a lot of deaths basically that are in there, and the deaths are what it's all about when it comes to its controversy. The way that you kill certain enemies or you get killed is just basically, for the time, it was very gruesome. You had, you blow people's heads off, you cut goblins in half, you get eaten alive by spiders. It's like I say, it's as graphic as you got for a game at that time, really. The combat itself's like an unusual blend of action and turn-based, and it's a very punishing game. It's a very this is Dark Souls. This is a proper Dark Souls game. This ain't Dark Souls is easy. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Dark Souls is it's not a. It's got a bite to it, but it's got infinite lives, and it's not an hard game. The Immortal will kick your ass 10 times as much, and it is. That's why, because they wanted you to die, because they wanted you to see these deaths. And
oh my God, it's coming back! It's coming back.
Yeah, also just cut a guy in half. Just cut a guy in half, and it's very tame by today's standards. I definitely let kids play it now, without a doubt.
But the deaths are a bit gory, though, mate. You've fallen the spider's blood coming out your guts. You know?
Yeah, they've seen worse.
It's true. It's true. Because this is a game we've got a review later on, and I've been playing it. Dan, and this is Rick's morbid choice, and he's got a pretty morbid mind, Rick. I'm playing this game, and there are many, many ways you can die in this game.
Yes.
Ways that I never thought.
You can even die going to sleep, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. There's that's the beauty. That's the where the game were very, really clever. I mean, it's clever in a lot of ways, really. But the you don't begrudge dying because it's entertaining to die in it.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many ways that when you die, you sit back and think, right, well, that's it. But I'm gonna watch my wizard get torn apart. I'm gonna watch these spiders eating. So it's a really entertaining way to do it, really.
Very true. And of course, for those who are interested in the storyline, it has a nice little twist to it at the very close to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, so as a game, if you're saying why play it, I mean, as a game, it's brilliant. It's an M-rated episode, so it's fucking brilliant.
Yes, there you go.
It is a shit-hot game. It's got a really amazing atmosphere. It is Dungeons and Dragons, exploratory based. That wonderful nightmare style discovery journey and adventure. It really is. Every item has got a purpose. Every section is individually crafted. You know what I mean? It feels so rewarding and gratifying when you get past every bit, because it's an hard game. You know what I mean? Every time you overcome something, you feel like, brilliant. I've sussed that out. Fantastic. It trolls you. It's super clever. I mean, if you look at it now, you have to fight an invisible enemy.
Oh, yeah.
It's that type of stuff that you have to constantly evolve your thought process to beat the game. And if you're into that, if you want, something to really get your teeth into, it's a fantastic game. It really, really is.
All I would do is read the manual before you start playing this.
Oh yeah.
What am I doing here? I had to read the manual to understand the context.
It's basically Dungeons and Dragons with a very sadistic dungeon master leading you. If you've ever played D&D on tabletop, you're fighting the most sadistic DM that you've ever come across, but you're still having fun with it. You're
Who's
still having
always
fun.
coming up with new rules.
Oh yeah,
every
always coming with new rules. My goodness, I know the feeling. All right, good choice,
That's
Uh,
Dan.
beautiful. That's
really?
But I
beautiful
have a
stuff.
question, Dan. What
This is
version
fun.
is that?
It's the Mega Drive one.
Mega Drive, the best
Mega
one.
Drive?
Best one, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's,
let me-
Yeah.
Play the Mega Drive
I
one.
should probably put this in my
There
backlog.
have been many ports to it though too. If I remember correctly, Dan, right? It was on PC and did it ever
Amiga,
come out? Yeah.
Nintendo Entertainment
Mm.
System.
Yes.
But I have played most of those, and I'll say that the Mega Drive version is the best because there's quite a few deaths, especially pit trap deaths.
Oh,
You've got to keep your eye on what you're doing, and the versions like the Nintendo one, you can't quite see it clearly.
Yeah.
So if you play Mega Drive, definitely.
There you go. So that's Dan's choice, and of course, would he also already mentioned that he would allow children to play this because of how creatively brutal it is. I guess, shall we say?
Yeah,
It's cartoony, to be honest. It's cartoony.
Yeah, exactly. It leans more what you talked about earlier. It leans more into that Tom and Jerry, even though it's dark fantasy grounded in reality.
Yes.
It's the actual deaths are so over the top. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't. Have you ever? You must have all seen Scanners. You've all seen Scanners where the guys.
Scanners. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's literally one of the deaths. You smash
Blind
a goblin
spot.
on head with your wand, his head explodes, and it's so comical that it stands out. So yeah, I'd let kids play it. By today's standard, this is tame, but it's a really great game. So definitely give it a try.
Excellent choice for the first game. What's your second game, Dan, for the M-rated mature games?
Right, my second game is The Witcher 2.
Okay. Describe The Witcher 2. What is it all about?
It's a 2011 PC and Xbox game. It's an action RPG, but it's got a very story-driven focus. It's got a lot of choice and consequence, which is a big deal for it. And to actually get the full story, you've got to finish the game twice. If you only play through it once, you're only getting half the story. And to actually get the full story and all the angles on the story, you need to play through it 4 times. So it's a very, very replayable game. And it's got it's basically it got its M ratings because it's Games of Thrones. It's got it's got all the Games of Thrones adult tropes. So a lot of swearing. Frequent blood and death. There's a nice bit of sex in it. There's a fantastic sex scene in it. A really, really.
What?
Is that
Yeah,
the boss?
man,
scene?
yeah, man.
The steam room? Is that the steam room scene?
Say again, mate.
Is that the infamous steam room scene with Yennefer and Geralt? Is that what we're talking?
No, this is so Triss. This is a bath scene with Triss, and she's. Oh, I mean, if I could, my wife's a redhead, and she's got a character that's very much like Triss. So if I could shag a computer game character, it would be Triss Merigold. And this sex scene, basically, Geralt bends her over and gives her a nice scene, and it's a good one. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
But sorry.
No, I was gonna say, but how is that actually sexual harassment for this game?
I mean,
it's a mature theme, isn't it?
Yeah,
sometimes has to be harassment.
it's not so much harassment as it is sexual content.
Yeah. It don't harass her. It just gives her a good scene to in a
Oh.
It's not a rape scene or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
No.
I wouldn't.
But
It was
Let me
consensual.
say, I would shock myself. Is this
the game talks about rape, and it talks about all kinds of. It's got substance abuse in. Do you know what I mean? It's got all that type of stuff in. So it's even got there's one dream scene where a girl dreams about a dwarf having sex with her, and during the dream scene she turns around to the dwarf and says, "Why don't you go and fetch your friends? It'll be lovely." So basically, you also have a fantasy dwarf gangbang suggested. They they don't actually go into it, but it's suggested. So you guys,
Yes.
Regret for you, Dan, because you wanted to see that, didn't you?
I look for cheat codes. Where? How do I try putting all codes in? Where's this door gangbang?
My goodness. Okay.
Cheat codes. Oh my god, mate.
So you've delved into what makes it M-rated. The question is, what makes it good? What
It's
makes it?
Yeah, it's a fucking brilliant game. It is. It's one of the best. It's one of the best games ever made. It is.
Okay.
It is a. It's got clunky combat, so that might put you off, and it's got a rough start. When you first play it, it's a bit disjointed, so you can be forgiven for you have to spend a good 5-10 hours getting into it. But the story is fantastic. All the sex, the violence, and all that makes for a good story. It's not just in there for the sake of it. It gives the game and emotional content of the game a lot of weight, which is really good. But what really makes this game stand out is the choice and consequence. You play this, and basically there's a point in around a third of the way into the game that you make a choice, and it totally changes the game. You play through a totally different level. You are with totally different characters. You see a totally different angle. The good guys or the bad guys that you face are on different sides of the fence, depending what side of the story that you're on. And so it makes for a really, really good game. It's got a brilliant balance. It's got a real accessible but still engaging normal difficulty. But on the hardest difficulty, it's really enjoyable. It's not too punishing, but it does challenge you. And it's got great character builds. It's just a fantastic game. This for me, it amazes me how The Witcher 3 gets the plaudits and this doesn't, because for me this is better paced, better written, better presented, a fucking incredible game. So I highly recommended this one.
Excellent. And of course, you've already touched on why the game should not be played by children. It's the sexual content. It's the violence will still get to the kids because kids have a little bit of sensitivity when it comes to those kinds of things. I would highly recommend that if you are going to allow a child to at least to even see a little bit of the footage, it might scar them. So be careful with this kind of content for children.
This is to me, this is a good young adults game. Whereas I'd actually say that if you're in your mid to late teens, so between around 15, 16, that age, this is a good way of introducing kids to that more mature content, because the mature content in there has a purpose. It's not there for shocks. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure the devs thought we'll put some shocks in there and get some extra mileage out of it. But you see a king get his throat slit because it's part of the plot. It's called The Assassins of Kings.
Yes.
So it's not just put in there for the sake of it. Do you know what I mean? It is.
It's essential to the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's also one of the reasons why I believe M-rated games are really good for storytelling. You can get to do the things that you don't normally do with with G-rated or E-rated or T-rated games, and it does have an impact on the game, and it does follow the importance of the storyline, shall we say? All right, good choices, Dan. Do you have a third one? Just on
I don't, but I'm just gonna throw out there Night Trap.
Night Trap, of course.
Girls shouldn't be M-rated. Lots of pretty girls running around with hardly any clothes on. Great game.
Ooh, spicy joke.
Yeah.
Combat
It's so bad. You can't even see the pretty girls. This is some blocky graphics. And what is this stuff?
It's got that 90s porn feel to it. You know when you were.
I don't know. I didn't watch porn in the 90s, so you told me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my chain a little bit more. Come on.
If there
Come
is
on,
a
guys.
game for the Sega Mega CD that should have a remake or a remaster, should be Night Trap.
Definitely, mate.
Oh!
A topless remake.
If they
Software
could, if they
remade.
would create one, of course, if they
Mhm.
Then
create
they will
one,
make
Are
the
you
super.
offering, Charlene? Is that what were you offering for that?
if they actually created one, I would definitely play that game.
Oh my
Actually,
word! So,
Miss
no,
Charlene,
no,
actually,
sort your woman out, Sir Fowl.
Oh,
since you did mention
sorry.
Five Nights at Freddy's, Miss Charlene, it actually does kind of feel a little bit of the spirit of Five Nights at Freddy's, where you're
Yes,
basically looking at cameras and
yes.
coordinating how things happen on a per screen basis. So it's technically a spiritual
Mm,
ancestor of Five
Yeah,
Nights at
yeah.
Freddy's, I guess, when you
It's
Yes.
stop and think
basically
about it.
Night Trap without the girls.
Yeah.
Boo.
Okay.
Ooh.
Josh said it perfectly. Night trap without the girls, and I guess the interesting bits being the operative word. Okay.
Plays the same, but
Nice.
without the girls.
Yeah.
Without the
So there,
ladies, the boobs.
good choice. Good choices, Dad. I'd say those
Thank
are
you.
excellent choices, and also justifies as to why the M rating was put in place in the first
Yeah,
place.
yeah, thank you.
All right. So let's move on. Let's do GDM.
all right. So for me, I only have two. I revised it. I have a
Mm,
third one, but I'll discuss it later. So first, my first choice for the M-rated game that I have played, it's going to be Silent Hill 2
mm.
for the PS4.
Excellent
Uh,
choice. Okay.
Excellent
so,
choice you did.
Describe it, JDM.
all right. So, in contrast to Virage Resident Evil,
Hmm.
Silent Hill, generally Silent Hill, it's more of a psychological horror than the survival horror. That
Yeah.
there's an element of survival horror as well, but it's more on the like psychological, like the mental um, elements that could be integrated with the horror genre. So for Silent Hill 2, you play as James Sunderland, who came into Silent Hill because he received, suspiciously, he received a letter from his dead wife from years ago. Like, I believe he mentioned 3 or 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And in the letter, uh, she wrote that he should visit Silent Hill, the lakeside motel where they used to um, go to when his wife was still around.
Hmm.
And his wife died of a unknown illness. It was terminal,
Hmm.
and she died a few years ago before this game. So he went to Silent Hill to look for the Lakeside Motel.
Hmm.
Then he started encountering these unusual creatures, which like this one. It's called the I forgot its name. It looks like a the straight jacket monster. This
Hmm.
one.
Okay.
And the thing with Silent Hill in general, whenever you encounter enemies,
Hmm.
they represent something, eh, like in the character.
Hmm.
It's like it's a personification of their fears, their their like alter egos. So it represents their fears and their their subconscious. So
Okay.
this one is the straitjacket like embodies the restricted like his inhibitions that he would like to
Overcome.
overcome, right?
Hmm.
So there's this boss in the game, like a monster that always follows him around, which
Hmm.
they call the Pyramid Head. It's
Oh
like the
yeah.
iconic, yeah, this one, this guy who has
Yeah.
this giant. He has this enormous butcher's
Pyramid
knife.
head. Is it? Pyramid head.
Right?
That's
Hmm.
Yeah,
kind
Yeah.
of
this
creepy.
pyramid head. So I don't know if this is a spoiler. However, it Pyramid Head, like it's the personification of his guilt, that he thinks that he's the culprit,
Mm,
or like he's um I call this he's like the reason why his wife died,
mhm,
or something like that. Because I don't know if it's going to be spoilers, but he found out when he um went to the room where they stayed in Silent Hill in the Lakeside Motel. He found out a videotape in there, and it showed that he was the one who killed his wife.
mhm,
Because back when um back when his wife was terminally ill, um her name was Maria, and because of her illness, she was like she became a different person. From a loving wife, she became like irritated.
mhm,
He gets annoyed, maybe because of the illness.
mm,
She shoves James around. I don't want to see you.
mhm,
You go on ahead. Then sometimes she also cries. She begs that she would like to live longer. And
mhm,
uh but there was like in James, the protagonist, he has this, like he had this, like thoughts of killing his wife because of that, because he
mm,
was being like resented by his wife.
mhm,
And that's the time when he decided to smother his wife
mm.
with a pillow.
Yeah.
and
If you're gonna
and
do it,
along the yeah.
do it.
Mm. Well,
I felt about it. Don't worry about
a little bit of a disclaimer to both the video audience and to our audio audience. For those of you who are going to be squealing, spoiler alert. I am hereby invoking the statute of limitations for this episode. If you haven't been spoiled already by the storylines that we're talking about here already, you have to actually start asking yourself what rock you've been living under. Either that or you're too young for this
that.
podcast. So it's for this podcast episode. So why are you even here? But still, the important thing is, uh, all of these plot points that we're discussing right now have already been out for close to decades already. So you should not be surprised that spoilers abound. Anyway, continue, JDM.
All right. So along the way, he meets these
Mm,
other characters, like this um, guy called Eddie
mm,
Brakowski. I don't remember his last name.
mm,
He also went to Silent Hill in a killing spree, but it
mm,
wasn't established at first. You just discover it because um, at one part of the game, he becomes one of the enemies that you will try to defeat.
mm,
And then there's also this poor girl named Angela,
mm,
who was abused by his father when she was a kid.
mm,
So like it messed her up. She also came to Silent Hill.
mm,
And then there's also this um, woman named Mary, the
mm,
one James is talking with in the footage.
mm. Yes.
So Mary embodies like the earthly desires that James wanted when his wife was ill,
Mm,
because she haven't got laid since the his wife was in illness.
Mhm.
So he was like, man, I need to get some, but apparently he can't because
Mhm.
uh the situation. Then Mary is the fantasy that he
Mm.
had her when his wife was ill.
Mhm. I'm
So
gonna have to say JDM. I mean, of all the games that we've discussed so far, this one seems to be the most mature in terms of psychological impact. If you were looking for one of the games that would hit you, this
Mm.
game seems like the game that you'd be playing if you're talking about personal traumas and the monsters that you deal by yourself. And there you
and
go. Raj is
not
actually showing Silent Hill.
nice.
Which one is this one? The film, right?
Yes, that's a film.
There you go. That's it. The films. There
And you
you
also
go.
have Revelation. Nice.
Revelation. There
I
you
mean,
go.
I remember
Very
reading
nice.
the making of the documentary. Christoph Gans, who directed this film,
Are they
Mm.
was
still
so
making
inspired.
Silent Hill movies or not
I
anymore?
think I think the second one killed the franchise, but I think
Mm.
I don't know. But Christoph Gans, who made this film,
Mm.
he was so inspired by the video game.
Mm.
Okay, and
Mhm.
the first I think out of all the video game movies of that era, this is probably the best one. I love the first Silent Hill film because it
Mm.
captured the atmosphere of that video game. And when he was
Mm.
playing this video game, because he was familiar with the video game, he thought, no, this is a movie. He made the movie based
Mm.
on and used the cinematography. It had such a rich, deep, sad storyline.
Mm.
Filled with, like you said, trauma, lots of psychological aspects of it, a lot of the mist, obviously there's all that, and you have to hide from the monsters when that happens. That was really interesting.
Mm.
Obviously, there's a second film,
Mm.
which I saw this in the cinema. I liked it. It's not as good
Mm.
as the first film. I know that I accept it. It's still got some really good imagery in it, which I find interesting. It's got Malcolm McDowell in it, funnily enough. He plays a very creepy role. But
Mm.
other than that, obviously, I don't think they made any more films after these two. It's got Kit Harington of Game of Thrones fame. He's in this.
Mm.
But look, they were very, very good films. I mean, inspired film. And his Resident Evil trilogy. Again, it inspired them to make films on these video games because the source material was so good, so rich, and they could get a story out of it. And the first Silent Hill film, I think, out of all the survival horror films I've seen, that's the best one. If you talk about survival horror film, the first Silent Hill film, very good, and it's because of the atmosphere so when I think of Silent Hill, it is an eerie atmosphere playing that game. It's another scary survival horror film. You have to be patient with it.
Well, let me ask you direct to the point, JDM. Would something like this? I personally, I'm not quite sure that I would have a child play this. Like I'd side with that. It would be a teen upwards because it deals with a lot of really heavy stuff. It
Yeah.
deals with a lot of the seriously mature themes.
Mm.
Would you, JDM, have young people play something like this? At what age do you remember playing this, JDM?
I played this first in 2008,
Mhm.
but I played the first game back when I was a kid, around 10,
Mhm.
10, 11 years old.
Okay.
So
It's a
I
disturbing
didn't
game.
I didn't really understand the story at first
Mhm.
because it's too mature. It's too if you were a kid, you don't know what psychological trauma is if you
Mhm.
had a great childhood.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in reality, not all of us had a great childhood. Some of them
Mm.
abused. Perhaps they will understand, but for us, I I recommend kids playing it, but I don't think they will understand
Okay.
the
Good point.
what's happening. Unlike Resident Evil, because it's being explained why they
Mhm.
get the virus and something like that. This is
That's
more of like the mental. Um, it's like the uh, psych part of
mhm.
the story that's hard to explain.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point, JDM. The fact that the kids can play it, the kids might be able to enjoy it for the stealth and action portions of it, but
Mhm.
they will not be able to derive the deeper meaning of
Yeah.
each scene
Uh,
as they go through it. So it would definitely still fall under the mature audiences portion.
It's
When
also quite a disturbing game. Let's put that out there as well.
Mhm. You were about to say JDM.
remember in the first game they have like a disclaimer that this game is like there are disturbing occurrences,
Mm,
something like that.
yes.
And back then I didn't know that these monsters have like they have this um like personification of
Mm,
the characters of subconscious.
mhm. Okay.
For all I know, it was just those flying bird monsters or these kids trying to stab you with a knife. And
Mm,
interestingly, in the first game, there were some differences in the North American version and the PAL version, because
mm,
in the North American version, they have in the school they have this like midgets that carries this knife.
mm. Yes.
they they censored that, so in Europe they substituted like a furry character, this fur coated monsters with long
Mm,
claws, so they like
mhm,
censored it.
Damn
mm.
the EU.
And
Bloody
Well, I have to admit, it's well, I guess if you were to ask me what is the basic difference, one of the basic differences between Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Number one, that Silent Hill is very psychological, as Raymond Orendes says in the chats. Psychological game, Silent Hill 2, and Resident Evil is a horror game, uh, horror jump scare game. Another thing is that Resident Evil is scary. Silent Hill is creepy. I guess
mm,
that's the difference
disturbing.
of it. Yeah,
and
Yeah, I
the
would.
disturbing. Mhm,
For me, in Silent Hill, I would
mhm,
say, yeah, it is pretty scarish. A little bit of
mhm,
jump scares when I was a kid, though.
mhm,
Mm,
And despite the fact of the platform, the game,
mhm.
monsters like that, you are not actually on your world anymore. You're on a different world,
yeah.
since
Mm.
that you are already dead.
That's
People would say that you're still alive, that you're already dead now.
Yeah.
that's a really
So
good point,
then,
actually. That's a really good point. The fact that in Resident Evil you're still firmly grounded in on Earth. In
Yeah.
Silent Hill, there's questions as to whether or not you're still
Mm.
sane, or you're still
mm,
actually doing well here on Earth. First things first, though, let's get back to let me just say hi to the people in the chats. Retro Gaming Times says hashtag RGT Kuya Den Raid, and Dave Scott says hashtag RGT Raid. Retro Gaming Times Raid. Thank you very much, guys, for
Thank
the
you for the
raid.
hello,
raiders. Welcome,
Raiders.
Welcome
raiders.
to the podcast. We are doing M-rated games, so get the kids to sleep while you listen and watch to our descriptions of M-rated games. And of course, Kurt Labrada says disturbing for me. Yeah, it's Silent Hill is a very disturbing series overall. And Kurt Labrado also says has put out a few games that he thinks might be worthy of discussion, which are M-rated as well. Dante's Inferno, Dead or Alive, Dead Space, God of War, Onichan Bara House Party. I think I remember that one. Well, the thing is
By
that
the way,
mm,
hi to Kurt. He's my friend from work
oh,
before.
there
He's
you
my
go. Excellent, excellent.
worker before, and he's also here from Cebu.
Excellent. And of course, there's also
Good evening.
Anthony Limbao on the chats. Hello, Paul. All right, that's good choice, JDM. Honestly, if you ask me, of all the games that have been put forward so far, this is
Ew.
one of the most disturbing ones. Silent Hill 2. All right,
oh,
so you, Viraj, you were about to say something.
I was just going to say Resident Evil is a better game, but anyway, go on.
Okay, Resident Evil might be the better
Oh my
game.
god.
Yeah,
It's a
I
better
well,
franchise.
actually agree with that because
the
this
feud
Silent
continues.
Hill is technically dead by now, but they're trying
Mm,
to do a new like they're
mm,
trying to reboot the game, and
ah,
there's the remake is coming. I
mm,
think
It has to
next
be. I
year.
think that there is a level of fatigue with both the Resident Evil franchise and the Silent Hill
Mm,
franchise, which is if you're going to continue with this, make sure the story is good. And it is
mm,
storytelling. That's what
Mm.
gives you the atmosphere and the gameplay. And getting all those elements right is very difficult to make a really good
mm.
game. So
Yeah.
I'd rather them take their time with a sequel or a continuation of this, rather than pump it out and rush it out, because that's what they did with Resident Evil 5, and that we all know how that went down. Anyway,
All right, GDM, that was your first game. What is your second M-rated game? Let's
All
hear it
right,
out.
so let's from the serious stuff. Let's go with a much more jolly stuff. So
Jolly jolly.
it's going to be Saints Row the Third.
Nice. There
This
you go.
is um like Grand Theft Auto. You have this game called Saints Row.
Mm,
It's this sandbox game that you have. It's like a GTA clone from Volition and the one who made one of my favorite games,
mm,
Descent Free Space
Mm,
and Free Space 2 for the PC.
mm,
yes,
They
Descent
made
Free
that game.
Space. Awesome series. Okay.
And here on Saints Row the Third, you play as the boss
Mm-hmm.
because
mm,
the reason why uh, he or she was called the boss is because you can customize whether you will play as a male or a female. So
Mm-hmm.
for if you play as male, you have you can select voices from Troy Baker and Steve Blum.
Mm.
And then for the female, I'm not sure
Mm.
really. You also have this different three different female characters that you can choose from.
Okay.
So as the boss, you're the leader of a gang called the Saints,
Mm.
and then uh, from the previous game, Saints Row 2, you started as like gang, like a lowly gang.
Mm.
Then you raise to the top. You got you even have endorsements. You have commercials. You have um movie contracts. So they
Mm.
became like celebrities and a gang at the same time. So they were trying to film like a heist movie in the third game at the beginning of the third game,
Mm.
where you got introduced to the main protagonist.
Mm.
Then suddenly something went awry and you got arrested. Then
Mm.
you got incarcerated for about 5 years, I
Mm.
guess. Then when you got back from the prison, there were other gangs that were already running the city around. So they are called the syndicate. Then they're like a triad who
Mm.
are now running Steelport. The name the place is called Steelport. It's like Chicago or something.
Mm.
mm,
So there are now three gangs that are running the city. So you have um, the Yakuzas, you have the Luchadors, and I forgot the third one.
Mm.
Um, even one of the Luchadors here is voiced by the legendary Hulk Hogan, and there's also in the syndicate there's like actually there were four gangs because you have the syndicate like there it's the like the higher ups, then you have the three gangs also running the city. There's like there was power struggle already
For the
happened when you
If I can interrupt you for a moment, JDF. For those of you who are watching the video portion of our podcast right now, it shows why Saints Row the Third and this entire Saints Row series has been rated M for mature. The Saints Row series has always prided itself in comedic violence, but violence is
yeah.
lots of tons of violence. We're talking about violent acts, crazy stunts and things like that. And it's much more graphic than what you normally see in Grand Theft Auto.
Mm.
People tend to compare Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row. Me personally, if you ask me, I have a lot more fun with the Saints Row series because of
Mm.
all the crazy things that you can do with it, and it's extremely graphic when it comes to its sexuality as well. One portion of Saints Row the Third has you wielding a gigantic wait, we're already on mature mode, right? A gigantic dildo so that you can whack pedestrians as
A
going.
dildo, really.
Yes, exactly. We're talking like graphic. Where you'd be hard pressed to explain to a child who accidentally comes into the room and sees you playing this game. You'd be hard pressed to explain what you're doing, running around wielding a giant dildo, whacking people over the head with it. So back to you, JDM.
So what you don't see in GTA, you see in Saints Row.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's why I like this game
Mhm.
a little more than GTA actually.
The things you
And
wished you could do in
yeah,
GTA, you can actually do in
Yeah.
Saints Row.
yeah, that's it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so right, so you have these giant dildos on a bat. You also have this. You can actually go full frontal in this game
Yeah.
by
Mhm.
you can. There's a shop that offers you free modification body modifications, so you
Mhm.
can
Hmm.
increase the bulge in your pants or something like that.
What?
Yeah, it's wild. It's really a wacky game.
I
Uh-huh.
remember when the first in the series came out. Sorry to butt in.
Mm.
I was working in the game for this back in 2006. The first one came out. The
Yes.
second one came out 2 years later, and I
Mhm.
remember hearing like how there was a certain porn star that was included in the game, and they lent her she lent her voice out, and she was in the sequel.
Okay.
I thought
Mhm.
that was like the most notorious thing about it. I thought, oh, video games really going in that direction. That's the first I heard about adult entertainers being voice actors in video games, and I thought
Mhm.
that's really interesting. And I'm not surprised that the third game is just as. This is the first I've seen of the third game. The first two I'm aware of. The third game, I thought they made a third one. So as soon as you mentioned
Mm.
the
Mm.
third, I thought, okay, this
Well.
game's really popular if they're making a third one. And the fact
Mhm.
that I can see it actually looks graphically appealing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
actually a game,
Mhm.
but yeah, the violence in this is outrageous.
Yeah, if we're talking about violence, Saints Row, if Grand Theft Auto cranks it up to 11, Saints Row cranks it up to 25.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Have you played the fourth one, JDM?
I played the fourth one, but it's like a how do I do
A
it?
retread.
the the game is still in Steelport, but it's like
Mhm.
the Matrix version of
Yeah.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
third
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
It was like a replica of the first one.
That's
It's
true.
not
That's true.
Hmm.
the it's not the real city. It's just a
Mhm.
recreation of the they replicated the third game. Still
Mhm.
the premise of the
Hmm.
third game.
Mhm.
Because in the fourth
Hmm.
game, the boss is now the president of the United States.
Okay.
I think I know where Dan was going with that question. I think I know where Dan was going with that question because of the fact that, um, spoiler alert for the audience, in Saints Row 4,
Hmm.
the Earth gets annihilated, and
Mm,
the Saints have to go around in a virtual steel port because of the fact that
mm,
the main villain had to recreate it to keep the Third Street Saints contained. And the nice thing about Saints Row 4 is that you get to acquire in the virtual world all the things that you cannot in a real world, like
mm.
superpowers, all the amazing things that you can do in a virtual world you can do. And tell me, tell the audience. I'm lifting the statute of limitations. Dan, tell us about tell us about the ending song, the ending sequence. If you reach that far already.
Well, I mean, it's from what I can remember, you get. It's been a long time since I played it. You
Mm,
go back, you get your reality back, don't you? But
mm,
I can't remember.
mm.
I can't remember how it actually finishes. I
Well,
remember you come out of the virtual. You get out the virtual world. You
mm,
get Earth,
Mm.
but I
yes.
can't remember much else about
Well,
it.
I'll spoil it for everybody. You get to kick the bad guy's ass to the tune of "The Touch" by Stan Bush from Transformers the movie. So there you
Course, mate.
go.
Course,
Yeah, a
mate.
little
Course,
callback to
mate.
one of our previous episodes of the Transformers and everything.
Transformers.
So if you guys are interested, Saints
Trample.
Row 3 and Saints Row 4, amazing games.
what
Yes,
I was
Dan, you were about to say.
what I was thinking about with Saints Row 4,
Yes.
I don't know if Joe can get a clip,
Mm.
but Saints Row 4 has romances in it,
Oh, yes, that's true. I forgot about that one. Yes. Mm.
and the romances are very explicit.
Oh, yeah.
Basically,
Mhm.
um, it's
It's
yeah.
got four movies.
I think there's one where you just go up to Kinsey and say,
Mhm.
"You want to just have some rough sex?"
Yes.
And she
Mhm.
smacks your aunt face and says, "Come on, let's fucking go." You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
And
Oh,
it's got that type of
Mhm.
edge to it, without a doubt.
Yes. Very true. Very
You don't
true.
see that in GTA as well.
Oh,
how
no,
can
no,
you
no. In
how can
GTA,
you
you have
not
to
see that
hack.
on
You have to
GTA?
hack it. Yeah.
When
That's it.
There
Take
you
it
go.
back a bit, Joe. You just gone past it there, mate.
Yeah.
Go back a bit. Go by.
Shit, man.
Right.
Isn't
Yeah,
this?
you need the
Well,
volume.
I'm.
Yeah, that's the one. You need the volume
Smack.
on
There
it.
you go.
Uh,
No, no. Well,
oh,
that's
that's
basically
Kinsey.
it.
You
It
don't see
does
anything,
show.
do you?
It does show that moment before they get it on.
You
All right.
can shag this robot. I think the robot goes down on her here. Wait a
Yes.
second. There we go.
There you go. Okay.
There you go.
Oh my
It's,
goodness.
it's not
Well.
But
exactly
isn't
graphic,
this
though,
a
is it?
little bit awkward for this
mhm.
one?
Well,
Let's
there
be
you
It's
go.
pretty
honest.
tame. It's all it's suggestive stuff. It's not
Oh,
graphic.
right, okay.
Mm-mm.
It's
That's so
awkward for
disappointing. It's
me
suggestive, you know.
seeing a
Don't-
girl to
Mhm.
girl.
Although, yeah, like I said, the thing that earns Saints Row its M rating is the violence, it's the sexual content. Again,
Sure.
whatever Grand Theft Auto had, yeah, Saints Row ramps it up immensely, and you're just really left scratching your head for a moment, saying, "They really allowed this in a video game?" Here you go. All right, JDM. I'm going to have to. I know JDM has another game, but for the interest of brevity, we're gonna have to put a cap on JDM's games there. JDM will put
Yeah.
his last game in the chats later on after the episode. If you guys want to find out
Alright.
what JDM's special bonus
Yeah.
game is, you can check out his special bonus game. In the chats later on. I'm sorry to have to put that JDM because we're already running on 2 hours. All right,
Alright.
Joe.
Yeah.
You want to do yours or shall we do mine?
Sure. I'll do mine.
All right, Joe will do his.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
So I'll
I'm
do
scared. I'm
mine.
not excited. I'm scared.
Why? Why am I
So
scared?
hi
What's
guys.
the problem?
I was afraid this time would come. I wasn't prepared to face this kind of hurting
Oh my gosh.
Here,
from the
Okay.
here
game.
it comes.
Let's go. So on my so for since we're running out of time, so I'll just talk about two games.
Mm.
And so for this particular episode, of course I'm an RPG guy, so I chose the mature rated games for the
Mm.
JRPG lineups,
Yes.
and I chose the PlayStation 3 because it's been a while since I touched that system.
Mm.
And out of all of the games for the JRPG ones, anyway, for the PlayStation 3,
Mm.
there were only a few actually um, that were given the M rating by the ESRB.
Mhm.
So one of which is what we call the Artonelico Koga.
Mm. Yes.
So Artonelico Koga, it's an action role-playing game produced by Gust and published by Namco Bandai,
Mhm.
and
Ooh.
and it was serialized by NIS America for
Mhm.
the PlayStation 3. And this one is the third game, the final installment of the trilogy Art of Naliko. Japanese version became available for retail on January 28, 2010, and it was released in North America in March 2011 and Europe around April 2011. So Art of Naliko Koga takes place in this region called the planet RCL.
Mhm.
And on this particular game, so the setting is on the third tower of Artonolico. 2 years after the conclusion of the second game, which is the melody of Metaphalica. And for the setting is on this region, we have they have these girls, divine girls, basically called Ravatels. Basically, they have the power of song priestesses, basically. Uh, uh, Being song priestesses, they have the power to they have the power to sing, and with their songs, it will bring out some status buffs, magical buffs. They use this for magic defense and magic attacks. And the girls and the girls can only do this for some reason. But of course,
Mhm.
and so the players will be taking the role of a young guy called Aoto. So he embarks his journey along with a few friends along the way, and then he'll soon find out that there's this the upper crust society of this world is planning to enslave the lower strata of their society, and this malicious organization is also planning for world domination, so to speak. And one of the aspects of this game is called the Cosmosphere. With the Cosmosphere, Aoto is asked to dive into one of the girls, basically.
Mhm.
The basic.
That's
So
mhm.
okay, so the the way I describe Cosmosphere. So the Cosmosphere is basically the girl's psyche, their inner psyche.
Mm.
Yeah. So for the girls to get stronger, so Aoto is tasked to go inside their psyche and remedy their uh, their past trauma, their their insecurities, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And what else? So the system here is the combat system here is is action turn based, actually,
Mhm.
kind of reminiscent of the Star Ocean games.
Mm.
Only one Ravatel, meaning only one girl, can only be on the party. So during the battle, the players can you can only control one of the vanguards, and then the AI will control the rest. You can control the girl if you want.
Mhm.
Um, Additionally, the Ravatels can, of course, so they're the ones providing you the support, healing, magic attack, magic defense, and for them to get stronger, the premise of the game is getting them naked all the time.
There you go. That's it.
We get to
And
this part. We'll get to the
the
nudity.
more
Yeah.
Ugh.
the more skin they expose, in theory, the stronger they get. So of course,
What a great mechanic.
what a great mechanic.
Oh,
And
Where's the
you
Hellraiser?
being
getting hot in
the
here.
player, you're like, okay, so all right, interesting. So how do I do that? So how do you do that, right? um, if you follow if you follow the game tutorials during the first 30 minutes of the game, you'll soon understand on how to do it. Um, so when the game prompts you, so it will signal you on how to do it. So you either hold the shoulder buttons, and
Mhm.
I don't know why this is necessary. So you hold the shoulder buttons and you need to shake the controller. I'm like, so just pressing the shoulder buttons are not enough. So you need to shake it.
Mm.
Okay.
Like vibrate.
Does that mean I need to shake the clothes off or something? Anyway,
I guess.
so um, so during the beginning of the game, you can only there are 4 levels of purging. That's what they call, shedding their clothes. It's called purge. Um, so instead of saying, "Oh, get naked," I'm gonna purge. I'm gonna purge. Yeah, okay. Uh, so that's their double entendre for getting naked. Purge. So there are 4 levels of purge. Level one would be, taking the top off.
Mm.
Level two purge will just be taking the socks off.
Mhm.
Level three purge will be just taking some of the brassiere. Sure. And the level four purge is that. And
So those doing
so the girls themselves are defenseless, okay, during battle. So it's
Okay.
up to your vanguards to protect the girl, of course, because if the girl dies, then it's game over. If your vanguards die, the game's over.
Mm.
Um, so what else can I say? So battle system wise, it's not really groundbreaking to say the least. I mean, if you've been playing Star Ocean or you've been playing the Tales of games, this is nothing really special. If there's anything that your vanguards have the ability to have their own special maneuvers, but Star Ocean did that. The Tales of games did that.
Mhm.
The only thing that's gonna keep you motivated to play this game is to make sure that they're getting naked, and that alone is a difficult feat to do as well. And you cannot even see them completely naked until the later parts of the game.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, so all right, so I already know I already know or why they should get naked. So how else can I get them naked? Because the girls don't get naked all willy nilly. I mean, they're not whores, they're not bitches. I mean, they have self respect. They still have their dignity.
Um,
They're not gonna take off their clothes just because you asked nicely. So what you do, all right, so what you do during if you're sleeping on if you're camping out or they're an inn, so the main guy will do this nightly visits, talk to one of the girls and say, oh for oh I need to do some programming to make you stronger. Programming is basically oh I need to get you naked. I need to get you naked to make you stronger. That's what they call that's what they call it. I need to program you. So and the girl's like, okay, I'm gonna can I say no to that? They will say no, of course, right? And for you to convince them to take some of the clothes off, you need to butter them up, of course. Typical girls. So give them some presents,
I'm sorry.
sweet talk them, do some
I'm sorry.
do a little bit of flattery, say they're
Uh,
cute,
Okay, so
say it
is
as
this game
they're
actually?
not.
So basically, the reason it's M-rated is you can get these girls kit off, and that's it, really. I mean,
I wish you can get them off, but no, it doesn't really go
all
that
that to
far.
see them naked.
Unfortunately, it doesn't go that far. So okay, so
My cheeks are already hurting because of my
um,
holding back my laughter from all of this.
I'm so sorry,
so
guys, but
and,
if I wanted to chat here, but since I'm a girl here, that's why I'm keep on doing like this.
all right. So,
Mhm.
so here I am, right? So, I ain't got no time to waste until you girls say yes. So, it's a good thing I have a PS3, right? I have a modded PS3, so I turned Artemis, the cheat engine, right? So max this, max that, max this, all items, yeah, all gifts, right? So I just chose whichever gift will give them the most affections, right? So I just keep spamming, and then up until they say yes.
I
And lo and behold, okay,
Mhm.
so here I am. I was expecting like full Monty, right? No, no, there are still some. There's still some lights. There's still some bars. There's still some
They're censored,
something that's
basically.
blocking the view. Oh, speaking of blocking the view,
Like, but
dialogue box. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You cannot disable the dialogue box. They might be completely naked down there,
Mhm.
but the dialogue box
strategically
is
placed.
blocking your view. And I'm pressing all of the buttons. Can I make this disappear? No. And I'm like,
These
how else can I take a photograph to Sir Dan Sir JDM.
Now you got implicated, Dad,
So
right there.
that I am not
You got
lying when I'm
implicated.
Right,
saying
so,
it. I
right.
need documentation for it, right?
The two young. I'll be honest. They're scared. You're over that side of the world. I don't know what the age of consent is, but that is.
Okay.
They're too young there. I like the
Right.
idea of the game.
That's some Lolita stuff, man, that you're showing.
Yeah,
us.
they're scary. They're
Lolita.
scary, man.
My
So,
goodness.
but I digress.
Oh,
All
no,
right,
there's
so-
no digression happening here. It's M-rated. Go ahead.
all right. So, okay. So, what else can I tell you? So, okay. So, to make the girl stronger, the main character must do whatever it takes for the girls to take off their clothes, right? So, the more skin they get exposed, the more powerful their song magic increases. Sweet talk, give them presents, yada yada yada. Oh, and doing your regular dives.
Well, it says
You need
partial
to dive.
nudity.
You need to dive into them.
Just on the credits behind you when you're loading the game, it actually says partial nudity. So you're not going to see full nudity. It's not false advertising here. You know, it's only partial nudity. So we
You want me to move? I'll move.
you know,
The game footage, everybody. Here you go.
Okay, there you go.
it's not even sexy that you want to see him naked. It's Lolita shit, man. I don't know.
Okay. So what else can I tell? So
It's one moment, Joe. Good evening to Zelsin Alejandro Manzano. Good evening. Hello. Thanks for joining us in the chat. All right, Joe, continue.
so some of the girls here are depicted with overdeveloped and underdeveloped bodies by design. Like how, for example, like low necklines, deep cleavages, panty shots here and there, hints of crotches and buttocks everywhere. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Wow, this is
We're talking about. We're talking about.
Manny?
So we're talking about diving, yeah. So the concept of diving is similar to the movie Inception, right? So the main, so there's this diving, there's this diving machine. So there's two pods, yeah. So your main character goes in, and the girl of your choosing goes inside another. So once the main character dives into the girl, he goes to the cosmosphere of the girl, right? So it's so basically the main character can the main player have the ability to manipulate the girl's inner subconscious, the id, ego, and super ego, right? Very psychological. Oh, did I mention your girls have multiple personalities living inside their bodies as well?
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's this girl, complete like flat, really like flat chested, but one of her multiple personalities have huge bajongas, right? And I'm like, okay, so how? And I'm like, so how can I go to her instead? And then you'll realize, it's only a cameo. It's not a real playable character. Yeah, I know that, but how can I get to her? So, and I'm like, okay. And so the transcript. Okay, so let's talk about the dialogue, right? So the transcript provided by NIS America. So NIS America did the translation for this game. Very sexually provocative, suggestively hilarious, and there are certain words and phrases that were being said in this game that can be considered as double entendres. I mentioned to you guys back in the group chat before. So especially when every time when they're talking about diving all the time, right? So diving inside the girls to make them feel good afterwards. So before the diving session, after the diving session, they talk about diving, and if you're going to read the subtext on those dialogue, I mean, you'll just laugh because it means it kind of means something different when especially if the girls are talking about it. The guy, though, the main character, is very self-aware. Like, stop saying it like that. It sounds wrong. Even the guy is self-aware. But the game was designed that way. What else can I tell you? And so in one instance, so the enemies were trying to find you guys, trying to find your
Mhm.
party, and they are looking for one of your girls, right?
Okay.
And they have this special radar that can detect Ray-Vatels. Ray-Vatels are the girls.
Okay.
To detect the
Good.
Ray-Vatels. And one of your party members says, "Oh, I have something. I have this piece of band-aid that you can put on your installer port so that the radar won't sound off when you're being interrogated by the guards, right?" And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, what? An installer port? They're not robots though. They're basically humanoids." And I'm like, "What the hell is an installer port?" So
Mhm.
and I can understand some Japanese, right? So I definitely just to make sure,
Mhm.
just to make sure, I went back to my previous save and I'm trying to hear the Japanese dub if they said something different. No,
Yes.
even the Japanese dub says installer port. And I'm like,
Mm.
what the hell is an installer port? So I look at the glossary, the game's glossary. There's nothing written about what the hell is an installer port. Where is a
What? Mm,
what even is an installer port, and where can I find the installer port? So there's this
Mhm.
thin band-aid, right? And I'm like,
mm,
so where
mm.
can so and I'm like, installer port. So that means it's an opening, right? So it's an orifice basically. So you're going to put that band-aid on one of the girl's orifices, and I know it's not the ears. I know it's not the nose.
Mhm.
I know it's not the eyes. I know it's not the mouth. So where else can we put this one? So it's all up to your imagination. And I'm like, I was racking
Mhm.
my brain. What the hell is an installer port?
Mhm.
But I don't want to say.
Ooh.
I don't want to say it here. So what else can I tell you? So I told you about the nightly visits.
Mhm.
Uh, certain words and phrases from the original Japanese dub were not literally translated into English.
Mhm.
Obviously, of course.
Mhm.
Um, and although not explicitly stated by the game, there one of the male characters here on this game was hinted to have a special relationship with an older, larger gentleman.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm not
How
gonna
ve-
spoil who,
how very
and I'm like,
inclusive. Mhm.
I'm not even that far off the game, and I'm like, okay,
Uh-huh.
I can smell something going on here. What is the
Mm.
Well, let,
anyway, so
Mhm.
suffice it to
there
say,
there are a lot
just
of anime drawn still pictures,
Mm.
right? They're being shown from time to time,
mhm.
on occasions, and some of those pictures have some of the girls in very awkward, compromising positions.
Mhm.
Like
Mm.
you can almost see something there, like, and I'm like, and I'm,
Joe is trying to
I'm
adjust
like,
his angle right there.
I'm over arcing my neck, or
Mhm.
or looking down,
Mhm.
but it's because of that goddamn dialogue box. It just won't go away. Get out of
Why?
the fucking way.
Oh shit.
Joke's
Um.
aside,
Oh.
suffice it to say,
So.
Joe seems found his perfect JRPG game.
Yeah.
It's a
mm,
Japanese role playing game with tons of euphemisms and dialogue genres.
look at the footage, guys. Right. Oh. So and lastly about this game. So
Mhm.
your main character, right? So your main character here can get so sexually frustrated talking to the girls at times.
Mhm.
Uh, he'll just say, "M- You're already naked. Might as well. Can we? Might as well.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way." And depending on how you progress with the story and
I
how
mean,
far you're talking with the girls, maybe you'll get lucky.
the line
I'm not that
works.
far off,
I
but
can
I'm not
personally
that
say
too
that.
far off the game anyway.
I mean, the line works. I can say it with, I can vouch for the line anyway. The you're naked already,
So
so it's fine.
Yeah.
do I recommend this for kids? Hell no.
No,
But
No,
no,
no, don't do. No,
so
no.
no.
although if you want to ease them off,
Mhm.
you know,
Mm.
The dialogue itself is the dialogue. They're not gonna get it, obviously.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. If anything, if like 10-year-olds or below will read the dialogue, they might not even get the references, the
Mm,
sexual references here.
yeah.
The imagery, yes, definitely, of course.
Mm,
It's not suitable for children as far as the imagery goes,
mm,
but the dialogue is definitely for for the mature minded.
mm.
Definitely.
Mm.
All right. Well, definitely not suitable for
Oh,
kids, but for M
so like
rate,
I
it
mentioned,
has
out of
the M
all
rating.
of the Arcanonical games, this is the only one who got the M rating, and I'm like, why? The other two games were just as raunchy as this one, even more
Well,
so.
I mean, to me, it looks quite tame. I mean, it looks like a game for sissies.
It's
Weird.
tame.
How
Mm.
come?
Oh, you know why? You know what? You know why we think it's tame, because we are so desensitized by watching way too
Probably,
much porn,
maybe.
and I'm like, it's
We think
nothing.
it's the dialogue and the text and interactions, and we can't see that here. But from the art direction, it does look very.
Mm,
It doesn't look like a mature game. That's the thing. Like, it does
mm,
look very Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles in terms of the art direction it's gone in.
As
So I'm like,
if you yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the gameplay, it kind of reminds you of Tellsoft games and the Star Ocean games.
It has
yes.
a
Kurt
domain.
Labrado says it reminds him of the game Love Hina, actually.
Oh, lovely. No, okay.
Yeah,
I
I've heard
can't.
of that anime.
All I'm saying is the art style. Because I'm a visual
Mhm.
man. The art
Yeah.
style doesn't titillate me. It doesn't excite me. Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, there's some
Okay.
anime stuff that's interesting, but I don't know. But you know, if you saying that the content is there, I guess. But
Mhm.
maybe.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's there, and I'm like, so. And you're gonna ask the question, so who is this game made for? So there are, so you can play this game as the main, so you can play this game just by going through the main story without going to the chronosphere. The chronosphere is chronosphere. The chronosphere is basically it's just like a side quest kind of thing. You don't have to go through all of that to progress through the game. Although, if you don't do that, then they're not going to be as strong or going to be as useful during when you reach the final stages of the game. So you
It's
need to
basically
get through all of those.
it's basically like the item world in Disgaea. It's not
Yes,
necessary, but it builds the levels. There you
it
go.
fills the levels.
Mhm.
And
All right.
okay,
Exactly.
so next game.
Mhm. Mhm.
My next game is called the um, Hyperdimension Neptunia
Mhm.
Mark
The one you
II.
streamed.
Okay, so Neptunia Mark II, a 2011 role-playing video game developed by Idea Factory and Compile Heart, assisted by Nippon Ichi Software, NIS America, Gust Corporation, 5PB, and also assisted by KG Inafune, the guy who created Mega Man.
Mhm.
So it
Oh.
is a sequel to the previous game, which is Hyperdimension Neptunia for the PlayStation 3 as well. And this came out on 2011 and 2012 worldwide. So the setting of this game, um, it it kind of serves as a spin-off. So in the year 20XX,
Mhm.
in an alternative universe from the first game. So you got your four characters from the first game plus one more character. Her name, her name is Nepgear. Okay, so they were battling the god of sin called R4. R4, and unfortunately, all of them got captured. However, Nepgear was able to be liberated by s- um, by her companions, and now it's up to Nepgear to gather her strength and get more people to help her out just to free the original four characters, from the first game. Um, Dungeon wise, battle wise, so it's kind of like a dungeon crawling aspect. While you're in the dungeon, you can see the enemies frolicking around. If you uh, if you push the square button, you'll do an attack. If you hit the enemy, then you have the initiative. If you keep pressing circle, it will do an item search. just to make some hidden items appear on the field map. Map wise, it's very small. Like they didn't really pay much attention on making the level designs. It's just so the dungeons are quite repetitive as well, repetitive and quite small. So there's not much of exploration here and there. Very simplistic on their gaming design. Um, so each character has attack point. So they have attack points, normal attack, combo attacks, using items. All those consume your attack points. They also have skill points. If they perform some skill attacks, um, it's used for those. Um, for certain characters, if you have enough skill points, they can transform into a more powerful versions of themselves. Not So this kind of function is also reserved for the main characters. Um, what else to tell you? They have this social media app called, get this, Chirper.
Mhm.
Not Twitter. It's called Chirper. So on Chirper, they use that to communicate with other people. Um, uh, by opening your Chirper app and listening to some of the rumors,
Mhm.
conversations with other people. Sometimes you'll get some tips. Sometimes you'll get some hints of where to get some certain items or where to find certain monsters, side quests, or stuff like that. And they
Mhm.
also have
Mm.
the guild system. So in every town that you go, there's like an adventures guild. You take your you take quests. Um, you accomplish those quests to get items and to get money. And I found myself doing a lot of these quests rather than the main storyline.
Hmm.
Um, the only reason why is because if you do special quests, then that mean so the more you use some specific party members in battle, then their compatibility level to you will also rise. So and the best way to do this is by completing quests. Sometimes you'll just gather items, sometimes by exterminating monsters. So if you are with them all the time, then that means their compatibility with you will also increase. So the more you use them on battle, the better their compatibility with you. So I find myself doing more quests than the main quest itself, the side
Okay, but
quest.
how is this a mature game by any means? It looks like a game for children.
Oh, that's a
No.
Well,
good question. Viraj,
okay.
Viraj, no, puts a very
Now
strong
that I
input.
described the whole thing in a
Mhm.
nutshell, okay. So how the hell is this a mature game? Okay, I have a list.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness. Okay.
The
Let's get to the
list.
meat and potatoes. Let's do this.
All right. Let's do
let's do
this.
this. So the characters here are the personifications of the gaming consoles and developers.
Mm.
The little sisters, basically the handhelds of Sega, Nintendo, and PlayStation. Let me run just real quick. Um, the main antagonist here is basically the personifications of custom firmware. You know,
Mm.
the personification of the gamers who cannot afford new games,
Mm.
like ourselves, the
Mm.
gamers who want free games,
Agreed.
ourselves,
Yep.
the gamers who decide to use cheats to beat difficult games. That's
That's
me.
you.
Mm.
And the
Mhm.
frustrated developers with underselling games.
Mm.
R4, the God of Sin, is basically the personification of the R4 cards.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah,
Uh, Actually, it's spelled Arfoire.
Mm.
Arfoire. But if you read S, that's R4.
Okay.
So it begs the question who this game is made for, right? So
Mhm.
if you're going to look at the game footage right there, so the female characters right there, mostly girls, no guys whatsoever. Taco Fest. So the females here are
Mhm.
depicted as minors,
Yes.
not
Mhm.
not not coal miners like actual young, preteens,
Eh,
prepubescent.
Under 16 is a
prepubescent
minor in UK.
girls.
Right?
All right.
16, okay.
So, although the lack of curves of the chest or the hips are not as evident, of course,
Okay.
the designs of the girls here did not shine away from showing their underdeveloped breasts, their
Mhm.
navels, their thighs, and really skin tight outfits.
Mhm.
Just some of them, yes. And what kind of a perverted creep would be turned on to something like this?
A paedophile. That's what
Mhm.
it's
What kind of creep would be so will be aroused by looking playing this kind of game, right?
What is this
I
Lolita shit,
know.
man? You probably
Who?
just Lolita
Who?
shit, man.
Who? I
This,
tell you who?
This is what you get when you're raised on Nintendo RPGs. Man.
oh,
This is what happens to you.
boom.
Boom,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
So,
Okay.
there are also anime still images here that are shown occasionally, which shows
Mhm.
some of the girls in skimpy outfits, sometimes in awkward positions as well, just like in Arcanolico.
Mhm.
However, you can hide the dialogue box. Thank God you can hide the dialogue box. Thank God you can hide the dialogue box. If you press circle, the dialogue box disappears, and everything just stays still. So,
Mhm.
and I've been okay. All right. So before anything else, screenshot.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
and then
Okay.
I'll go to the group chat
Yeah.
at Sir Dan, at Sir Joel,
Oh
at
my
Sir
gosh. Okay.
JDM, at Sir
Thank
Virat,
thanks so much.
and send.
Okay. Much appreciated.
Hmm. So it may not have the voluptuous of bounds of the girls from
Mhm.
the first game.
Mhm.
The designers here make up for it by pushing the envelope on how risque the
Mhm.
young girls can get without the feds being being alarmed. Um, yeah. Um, so if
Trying to wonder, like,
so
what's
what I
what's
can
the
tell
difference
about
between
this game. So
the boss game? I mean, they both look like the same game to me. I mean, they both got like these women that are like, not women, but they're little girls in these games. I don't really see anything M-rated about it. That's the thing. Yeah, maybe it's the
that's the
art
thing.
style. I mean, I don't see what's the M-rated aspect. Is it the
If
dialogue?
I'm going
The other one? I
if
mean,
I'm
where's the
going to
M-rated?
answer that serverage, the first game is very sexy. Yeah.
Mhm.
You got the actual girls there. This one is very fetishy, and
Oh,
I'm like, this is for those people who have the fetishes for young lolly girls,
lolly
right?
girls.
All right, we're gonna
For
have
the
to
lolly
cut
girls.
the we're gonna have to cut this description here. I am, as the captain of the show, am imposing this right now. There's mature and there's
Ah,
stretching there's stretching the line, John. We're
the
doing that
boob,
right now.
something like that.
Um,
More like
No, I mean, look at,
It's
to
been
all of you
pointing.
guys who are listening to our to the audio
This is Japanese.
podcast. So we are
Ooh.
so right now. I'm still showing the video footage of the gameplay. So
mhm,
to all of you guys who are doubting me, just look
mhm.
at the trailers, look at the gameplay. I ain't lying.
Okay.
I wish I was, but I'm not.
All right,
It's
as captain of the show, I am imposing a cut now. Okay, we're doing a cut because we have gone from mature to icky. I guess that's the right word for it. It's
what is
got
it?
icky
Is it
already.
like more like a hentai, something like that? Is it talking about? Am I right?
No,
No,
not
no, we're talking about
not really.
a
No,
nightmare
no,
that
No.
only exists in Japan.
Yeah.
Because in Japan,
not
this
really.
is the
No.
fetish they have. That's normal for them, but for us, it's like, no,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
Yeah,
actually way too
Yeah,
much. It's not
yeah.
normal
it's
for us to be called that
it's
one.
Yeah, I
it's,
mean,
So,
it's not.
to Miss Shirley's point, it's not normal for her. It's normal for us.
fine,
This
fine.
this this is
Normal
this is down
for men.
this is down
It's
to our
normal for
culture,
men of
isn't it?
culture like us.
I mean,
Well,
again,
If
you're all
you are
gentlemen,
so,
of course.
oh
okay,
yeah,
It's
we're
normal for
gentlemen,
you
definitely.
ladies
guys.
and gentlemen of the chat,
Mm,
listening, watching us right now.
mm.
If you have any inkling of culture in your bones, in your blood, go check out this game. Okay. If
Fine,
anything else,
fine, fine.
if my word is not enough, then please check out the game, or at least check out the gameplay, or at least check out the trailers.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And
If,
Ah.
if it doesn't if it doesn't awaken something within your
I don't
souls,
think it ever will. I think
I would ever imagine that.
these two games. It's definitely something that's tailor made for the Japanese market, and people will like this sort of
yeah,
style.
agreed.
And
That
I
one,
understand
yeah.
that
Yeah.
Japanese like this sort of thing, but I think it's something that should really like this sort of fetish, shall we say, that you use.
Mm.
And this is a very interesting point about M-rated games, and this is a very interesting subject actually.
That's
that I'll
very
touch
true.
on very briefly,
Yeah.
which is the Japanese are into young-looking girls. This is their thing, isn't it? For us, we find it icky, which is what was explained.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's where I draw a line. I think Dan
It's-
draws a line.
it-
You're like,
yeah,
we were nerves, isn't it? We're
Th-
hoping you were going to send us something which was actually appealing for us, but no, it's not for me.
But Dan was saying, yeah.
This is that culture border, isn't it? Where it is
Yeah.
literally
Mhm.
Eastern and Western culture. I mean, I think the age. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the age of consent in Japan is 13. I think you get married at 13.
13 is their legal age of consent. Yes, 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
no.
can understand why people, if you're raised in that culture where younger girls are deemed by law and by society as more appealing, I can understand that. We're raised in a culture where in Britain it's 16, in America it's 18.
Actually,
So it's
there's actually raised age of consent from 30 to 16. I've just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
they're all right then. But you can understand that for the past 20, 30 years, people have been raised in a culture where the age of consent is 13, whereas we for us it's 16 or 18, depending where we are. So you can understand looking at younger girls like that. I'm same as Viraj. That's too icky. That's way too icky. Way too icky.
All
But
right.
I ain't gonna judge another culture because if that's how you're raised, isn't it?
Yeah, precisely. I mean,
Yeah.
the cultural barrier is there. It's a very different culture. It's a very different mindset, and I guess the ESRB rating is there to protect the Western mindset right now. On this one, I mean, no judgment on people who do enjoy this, but yes, be warned. This is the kind of stuff that you will
So-
encounter if you go for it.
So if the question is, should we let kids play this game? The dialogue is very tame, to say the least. If anything, it's just the visual cues that they're gonna see. That's it, really. This is what separate the perverts from the connoisseurs.
Oh,
Okay.
All right, fine.
Oh my God.
We'll put a cap on the discussion here now because of the fact that we have gone way above our allotted time, and I know that some of us here have a few things to do. Also, I'm not even going to put forward my suggestions. Actually, fine. I'll put my two, but I'm not going to describe them anymore. My first mature game series is Leisure Suit Larry, the collection. If you guys are interested in Leisure Suit and mature games, Leisure Suit Larry is the series to begin with. All right, that's my first one, and my second one, very deep, very very ugly in terms of theme. Spec Ops: The Line. If you guys are interested in a modern rendition of the classic Joseph Conrad, I believe, novel Heart of Darkness, Spec Ops: The Line is the game to play.
Hang on. Let's not leave the folks hanging. At least tell us Suit Larry.
Fine. Leisure Suit Larry is a very quick description. A guy who's always looking for love in all the wrong places. Okay, that's
Ooh.
Leisure Suit Larry, and you get into all these adult situations. And eventually, he does find love. But fine.
Ooh
For
la la.
for those of you who were with me during the DOS days, Leisure Suit Larry is the game series that is emblematic of M-rated games. All right, there you go.
I would
And-
ask, oh no, Sir Joel. I mean, Larry looks so ordinary, looks so cartoony compared to the other hunks in the game. How the hell does he get the girls?
It just goes to show the power of personality. Leisure Suit Larry has personality in spades, and that's what he uses to parlay into his sexual adventures. That is my description. You'll have to play it to enjoy it. Leisure Suit Larry is my choice of M-rated game for the day, and the second one is Spec Ops: The Line. Military.
Follow-up
shoot 'em up.
question. Oh no, Sir Joel, I don't see anything sexy about this game. How can this
More
be?
sexy than
You get lots of situations where you get to
These women are
shag
these are proper women, not kids. All right, it's a nice game. All right.
They-
Absolutely not for kids for this one.
Oh no! It's definitely not for kids.
Look
no,
at that woman.
really.
You know?
Yeah. But a lot of kids but a lot of kids played it,
Obviously
during
examining
my
some.
time. There you go.
No.
Uh,
All right. So we'll wrap it up. Pass it back to Joe. Thank you very much to everybody who had their suggestions for games. Joe, bring it all home.
All right. Well, we can still do like 10 more minutes to stretch it out to 3 hours.
No, I
But
think
Sergio
No, we're
is
running out of
refusing.
time now,
Sergio is
actually.
refusing to
no,
do more.
no. Besides,
All
I
right.
think I think Dan and Viraj might have a little something to take care
Yeah,
of
they
as
might be
well.
quite busy though.
Well,
All right.
okay.
Mm.
So
I've
we'll
got to
just
go and
do.
phone police.
What was that?
I've got to
Huh?
go and phone police on Sir Joe.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. So, Interpol. Yeah, we've got to get this guy's
Interpol.
house raided.
I know.
Massive.
My goodness.
My
That,
goodness, man.
All
All
right,
right.
Joe. Come on, bring it home. Bring it home.
And unfortunately, guys, that's all. That's all that we got for our mature rated games. We could have still went a little bit more,
There's a lot
but
more.
that's enough for now. Okay, that's
That's enough
enough
for
for now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that's too
don't
much
want the
now.
feds knocking at our door.
Yeah.
Um,
Knock knock.
okay, let's just do our shameless plug. Let's
Mm.
start with Miss Shirley. Where can they find you?
Yes.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Honoko99 Gaming Studio. Also as well, Facebook and Twitch. I mean Twitch and Kick, Honoko99. And also as well, I am now having my YouTube channel as well. Do give me a subscribe if you guys want to enjoy some more retro games. I would definitely be there soon. Thank you.
Mm.
All right, thank you for that, Miss Charlene. Sir JDM, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on here on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I also have a Kick channel 123 Go Retro. Um, Currently, I think I haven't streamed for a while, but I will try my best to do so this week. So catch you on my next stream.
So begs the question: does Sir JDM look M-rated to you? And the answer to that is
Yeah, that's it says in the sign. Do I look M-rated
all
to you?
right. How about Sir Viraj? Where can they find you?
you can find me on YouTube with Dan as part of the Sega Mega Masters. We're a new channel, and we talk about Sega Mega Drive, Sega Master System, basically the retro side of Sega. We talk about their games, we review their games, and yes, it's awesome stuff. And if you're into that kind of thing, hey, like and subscribe to the channel, watch our stuff. So that's where you can find me, Sega Mega Masters on YouTube. Over to you.
Mm.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Viraj. And Sir Dan.
What Sir Viraj said, but with less air.
Woo 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 woo.
Yes.
Very quite simple.
Mhm.
Got
And
an
the
interesting
the connoisseur of the mature, Sir Joe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this special episode of ours. It was quite surprising that we went this direction, but then again, we like surprising our audience. We like making sure that you guys are on your toes and enjoying what we have. So you can find me, the Banyaging Native, on Twitch and on Kick, streaming a variety of games, from E all the way to M, sometimes AO, but infrequent. But yeah, hashtag FUFB. And I hope you guys, I'm thanking everybody who decided to stick around and enjoy what we had to show. There's tons of other mature games that have really good storylines, really good gameplay. If you guys want, we'll discuss them more in the chats and on Pinoy Retro Gaming, the Facebook gaming page. So back to Joe.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Sir Joel. And uh, just a quick closing remarks before we end the show. There are some misconceptions about how the ESRB, PEGI, or even CERO do their rating. And for the most part, the game developers will just send out a rough description of the game to the regulatory board. The board themselves do not play the games. They don't. So they don't really play the games that they're rating. If the game developers say, "Oh, this game has that," if they check if they have, they're be given like a checklist. Does your game have this? Then they will pass to the regulatory board, and then they'll pass the rating. if there are and one of the things that the game developers would like to do is that they don't really want to go to the mature end of things because they still want their games to be sold on the other countries. Some countries have very strict rules and censorship. So
Australia for
as
one.
much Australia, for one, Germany is also one of them,
Yeah.
and um, they have to be very careful on not sacrificing the narrative of their game just because of
Because they
censorship of
still
one
want their
country.
games sold on the
Right.
other country.
One example would be my third game is South Park because South Park is banned here in Australia, and
Aw.
South Park Studios wanted the game to sell here. The compromise would be censoring some of the content, not taking them off, but censoring. What they did, they took a a crying cartoon koala,
Mm.
and then paste it on some of the risque scenes. It's a fuck you to Australia, but
Shoot.
eventually Australia cave in. Okay, so you did your censorship because they're not really playing the games. We did the censorship. Are you happy now? Okay, what kind of censorship? Oh, don't worry about it. So that's so just to clarify some things in regarding how does the regulatory board does their rating.
Mm.
And yeah, so just to plug in the show, Thomas Gamer available on the Pinoy Retro Gaming Facebook page and the YouTube channel Thomas Gamer PRG. And for our audio versions of our shows, go to your favorite um, audio streaming platforms out there. We should be there. Just Google us. We're all over the place. And that's it for our season 7 premiere of Timeless Gamer podcast, guys. And as always, our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless.
Timeless.
Yes.
Timeless.
See you guys again
Bye,
next time.
bye.
Enjoy.
everyone.
Enjoy
Have a good night.
responsibly.